Mike. That's what I need. British are not known for their food. The national dish is something that's not even from there, which is hilarious. Have you ever debated Jesus and whatnot? They are known for the food, just not in a good way. British pub food looks fire. I prefer American food, like French fries and pizza, tacos. I'm sorry, Americans. Not enough red. Not enough red 40. That was funny. Someone on the YouTube chat just straight up said, "This is a member actually, Pax Headroom said, which is funny actually. I was low key crying and pissing my pants while stream was down. Why? You don't need to do that." Super chat $1.99 from the prototype says something beans on toast.
This is a load of barnacles.
All right. My God. Evan says, if the Gospels were written in the 1st century, why didn't Josephus or Tacitus mention them? That's actually a pretty good question if you think about it. Like, why didn't they? You'd think that, like, by the time, even especially Pliny runs into the meetings, or he knows about these things. He arrests people, he tortures them, he unalives some of them for being people who don't worship the Roman emperor, for meeting without a permit. All these different rules that they're breaking, or a couple different rules that they're breaking there. He breaks up. He goes into where they meet. He breaks them up and everything like that. According to Christian tradition, all the New Testament should have been written and disseminated to different people by this point. Hell, the Catholics believe that there were 3 popes. There had been 3 popes in Rome before Pliny wrote that letter. He never mentions any popes. Doesn't mention Rome. Or it doesn't mention, them being over in Rome, Doesn't mention any texts. Nothing. He doesn't mention anything from the New Testament. That's really weird. You would expect that he would at least say something about the text that they apparently had. 6 popes total, supposedly. Really? I had a pope off. Pope soap, rope, dope. Sounds like some kind of weird prison joke. I always thought that was an interesting point. Yeah. It's not just the fact that, like, oh, hey, there's no good evidence for him within Josephus or Tacitus or something. Josephus is the guy who should have been talking about Christianity, even if he viewed them as like just bad Jewish people, like Jews that weren't practicing correctly. He never mentions any particular sect of heretical Jewish teachings, or a heretical Jewish sect that doesn't practice animal sacrifice or anything like that, or doesn't circumcise. He doesn't mention them. Doesn't mention them at all. It'd be really obvious. Testimony of Flavianum doesn't mention disciples. Not exactly. Not exactly. No, it'd have to be inferred from what. It would have to be inferred from what they talk about and everything, and trying to compare it to the Gospel's message and stuff like that. Those who loved him, yeah, exactly. Let's see. Alejandro. Alejandro. If you've got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. He said Jesus and Paul existed is proven. Now that Jesus was God, etc., that can't be proven. Well, come on up, Alejandro, and let's have a conversation about it. If you're on YouTube, you can click the link that's in the chat. I'll go ahead and put that there in the chat there. Might have to scroll up for this and a little bit of a delay. But yeah, click the link in the chat and we'll have a conversation. Or send a super chat, either way. I'll read it out loud. Will the real Slim Jesus please stand up? We're going to have a problem here. You know, like you've never seen a white person before. Because Jesus is white. Get it? Jaws all on the floor like Pam and Tommy just burst through the door. All right, unfinished. What you got?
Hello, I'm Daniel. What's your name again?
My name?
Yeah.
Oh, Jorka.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you. I was just curious because I remember, I tuned in like a while back, and I understood your arguments,
Okay.
and I just got a little confused because, I understood that like Josephus is like more than likely like an interpolation, like almost 100%, but when I was like going into the research, just like like neutral party research, um, it looked like there was also another source, like there was like an Arabic version, or like from like a Agapius, I think. But I don't know because that one didn't. When I read it, it didn't look like an interpolation. Like when I went into it, it didn't look like it was claiming that he was the Messiah, like the Josephus interpolation was.
When does the Arabic version date to?
I have to check. I like this is all old. Like I have to go back into. But is that the Agapius one? Am I right there or?
Yeah, there's a Syriac version that shows up after Eusebius, and there's an Aramaic one. The Syriac one is in the 5th or the 6th century. Eusebius, he says the interpolated version in the in Greek. They're in the 4th century, and then you also have the Arabic version that shows up in the 10th century.
Oh, so it's way later.
Yeah. So the problem is the fact that even if it was later and even if it was more stripped down and stuff like that, it's definitely not in the language that Eusebius wrote in.
Okay.
And there's not really any evidence that that would have been the initial text, anyways. Eusebius, or yeah, Josephus wrote it. But Eusebius is explicitly the person who quotes the Testimonium Flavianum, or at least mentions the Testimonium Flavianum first. And this is in the 4th century, and that version is the wrong version.
Oh, okay,
That's the
okay.
problem. So,
Oh, okay.
you can point to things later that have possibly been cleaned up for whatever reason. Most likely for Arabic, it's going to be cleaned up specifically for the people who don't think that Jesus was the Christ,
Yeah.
like the Muslims.
Oh, okay. I
But,
see.
I mean, you can make the claim all day long that it was a different version. But unfortunately, the oldest version in Greek that we have for Josephus, for Antiquities of the Jews, goes from the 10th century, and it has the interpolated version. And then Eusebius in the 4th century, he quotes the interpolated version.
Okay. I see. So it's just an issue at the core. Like it's not
Yeah.
even like the Arabic version doesn't matter because it's an issue at the core.
It wouldn't really. If we're just going to accept other versions, then there's a Slavonic version that comes from the 11th century, and it's got like 13 mentions of Jesus in the writing of Josephus, and it's very clearly interpolated.
Mm,
So
okay.
it's clear that they're changing historical text for different purposes, either to try to say that Jesus was a real person, or to try to say that he was a real person but downplay his divinity for people like the Muslims and whatnot, who would have been the people who would have been the intended audience there for Arabic in the 10th century.
Yeah, because if it was still showing his divinity, it would be like offensive, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. They wouldn't
uh,
they wouldn't go
and
for it.
with that though, the only thing like that was the only thing about Josephus that confused me, and like there was something else about like Josephus and like Oregon or like Oregon. I don't know how you pronounce it, Oregon or Origin, whatever.
Origin.
Origin. And he was just saying like Origin basically like telling Josephus off like, oh, like this guy doesn't believe, like, or like this guy is like kind of a fraud basically, like he's
Yeah,
like,
he didn't believe in Jesus. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah. So then like it wouldn't matter either way, like, or does that make Origin more like, how do I say this, more reliable in that sense because he's like being like, oh, Josephus
I would
couldn't have
say
said that.
to some extent, but I mean, he still takes what we find in the other passage from Josephus and kind of says, "Oh, hey, this is what he's talking about the Christ there." So he's still really trying, but he does at least admit that Josephus was not a believer or anything.
So for somewhat furthering like the interpolation argument.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Um, Other than that, I think the only thing like, because I'm a Christian too, but the only things that like bother me are like, for example, one thing that really stuck to me was like the original creed, like um the one that's in Corinthians, like the really old creed. Um, I don't know if it's Pauline, but I know like the one of the original creeds that like I know like Bart Ehrman used it or something. But I
No.
remember that
In
creed.
fact, he
It wasn't.
explicitly says that it's not something that is early.
Oh, okay. He was the. Oh, okay, okay. But
Yeah, First
I
Corinthians 15 though
okay.
is what you're talking about. Let me see here.
Hmm.
Trying to figure it out. Okay, here it goes.
Yep.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, First Corinthians 15. Yep. Anyways, let's see. Let's try a different one here. There it goes. Okay.
Hmm.
Now I want you to understand, brothers and sisters, the good news that I proclaim to you, which you in turn received, in which also you stand, through which also you are being saved, if you hold firmly to the message that I proclaim to you, unless you have come to believe in vain. What the fuck? Like, it's crazy run-on sentence there. And it says, "For I handed on to you as of first importance what I in turn had received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the Scriptures, and that he appeared to Cephas, then to the 12. Then he appeared to more than 500 brothers and sisters at one time, most of whom are still alive, though some have died. Then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles. Last of all, as to one untimely born, he also appeared also to me. For I am the least of the apostles, unfit to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am, and his grace towards me has not been in vain. On the contrary, I worked harder than any of them, boastful much, though it was not I, but the grace of God that is within me, or is with me. Whether then it was I or they, so we proclaim, and so you believed." So this is the section of First Corinthians that is lots of times it's talked about as being this creed that was passed around within like the first 5, 6, maybe even few years after Jesus supposedly died. But it literally never says that. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, what? Also, not really sure exactly why this is the case, but if Cephas is Peter, then why is the 12 here? He's one of the 12.
Okay.
That doesn't even make any sense. Also, I'd like to point out that the earliest iteration of these letters is found in Marcion's New Testament, And Marcion's New Testament, which was published in 144, it includes that section there for 1 Corinthians 15. As you just noticed, I was able to read. It's quite a bit. It's quite
Yeah.
lengthy. It's a few verses there. But in 1 Corinthians 15, we're going to read the entire section that is the equivalent to it. Let's see. It says, now I remind you, my colleagues, the proclamation that I proclaim to you that Christ died and he was entombed and he has been awoken on the third day. So we declare and so you believe. That's it.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, you see how it was very clearly edited to include other people, to include Paul himself being able to see it and all these different, to James, the brother of Jesus, he's added into it too. It's dumb.
Yeah, I see. Is but depending on like Marcion, like how reliable is Marcion? Like
What do you
I
mean,
don't
how
know.
reliable is Marcion?
I don't know like what Marcion, like the whole Marcion thing is. Like I just know it's
Marcion's a
like,
Christian theologian who shows up in um,
So
yeah,
brother,
but
in
it,
144.
whenever he's
um
my Messiah. He's my Messiah.
Okay, cool, dude. I'll talk to you, but you're just gonna have to wait. Just stay for a second. I'm talking to this other guy first.
Brother.
If you unmute, I'll disconnect you. But you can stay here. It's fine. Just wait until you're done. Wait until I'm done here. Okay, douchebag. All right. Anyways, unfinished. Keep going.
I was just like questioning because Marcion was a theologian, you said, right?
Yeah, or like yeah, theologian,
Was he
writer.
Christian or
Yeah.
no? Yeah. Okay. So then he was interpreting that, like, what is that? Marcion's like written Corinthians, like he rewrote it,
No,
or like,
he's the first one to publish it.
oh, he was the first one to publish this version of Corinthians.
He's the first one to publish Corinthians. We don't
Oh,
have
okay.
any instance
Okay.
of it or any mention of Paul or Jesus prior to Marcion.
Okay, I see. And so this Marcion had enough of like of enough of whatever manuscripts he had to write this first manuscript of Corinthians and determine that like either there are no names that are important to add or that it's I guess you could say like the people will add probably names in the future. Like he's not the one that's gonna add those names. Like
Yeah,
they're
because
probably
he's the first one to publish Jesus or Paul or anything like that. He's the first one to mention it.
yeah.
First one to
Okay.
mention it. There's no evidence whatsoever that Paul was even a person, let alone wrote something prior to Marcion.
Mm,
So
okay.
it just falls apart. So
Yeah.
it's not that he's taking things out or he didn't want to add them or something like that. It's just that he's the first one to have them. So he comes out with it. It's just someone later on adds things to that to make it sound like Jesus had actually appeared to all these different people, had appeared to Cephas, appeared to the 12, appeared to all these different people, like 500 brothers and sisters, appeared to Paul, appeared to James, the brother of Jesus. They put this in there afterwards to try to explain why they're going to start using that Jesus and James that are mentioned in Josephus as some kind of a martyrdom story. They say this because it's later on that this martyrdom story even pops up. So now we've got to go back in there and try to change it to where there's claims that James, the brother of Jesus, actually met with Jesus after his resurrection and became a Christian. Prior to that, there's just no other information. It never says anywhere that James, the brother of Jesus, became a Christian.
Okay. Like not even Marcion, you're saying?
No, nowhere in Marcion. He doesn't even. According to Marcion, Jesus isn't even a human being. He's a god. So he
He's
doesn't
just
have a
divine.
family. Yeah, just divine. He doesn't have a family. So yeah, in the first time that we get these stories, Jesus is divine. He doesn't have a family. He just descends out of heaven as a fully grown man. But later on, you get additions to the text trying to say, oh, hey, this guy actually had a family and everything like that. You know, you got James and all this kind of shit, and he became a Christian later on because the Gospels, like the Gospel of John, says that like his brothers didn't even believe him. But
Yeah.
later on, they're like, oh shit, there's this Josephus passage where these two brothers, Jesus and James gets killed. So we'll take that as like a martyrdom story because our Jesus has a James who's a brother. So they start working James into text, trying to say that he became a Christian later on because he met the resurrected Jesus,
Okay, I see. I
even
see.
though that was never part of the original story of James, the brother of Jesus. He was just a brother who didn't believe. And prior to that, he wasn't even a brother. He didn't exist.
Right.
He's a made up character who initially didn't believe. And then eventually they're like, oh shit, we can make him believe and use him as a martyrdom story. So they retconned him in. It's
I
like
see. And
retconning
even
the idea that like Leia was a twin.
oh, okay, I see. I see. Um, but even Marcion's like he related at all to like a Catholic church, like a church, like a like church
It's not a
father,
Catholic
like
church prior.
I mean, yeah, I know, but like I mean, like, were there
Marcion
any
may
like
have been
underground
related
like
to like a bishop or something like
theologians
that. There was
or
someone
such,
who
right?
mentioned that his father, I can't remember his father's name, but Marcion supposedly was the son of a bishop. But
Mm,
yeah, I mean, we have a church that's established to some extent. You know, they have a
yeah.
little bit of a hierarchy, but I mean, there's just no Jesus story.
Okay, because the reason I bring that up is just because I thought that if there would be like if you had any connection to like any sort of like very small established church, then the small established church would have some sort of record even connecting you to a James or to a whoever, you know, whatever would help an argument towards, you know, James the brother of Jesus. But it seems there's no real connection there. Like there's nothing to put there.
I'm gonna keep it real with you, Chief. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I really don't.
I'm just kind of confused because I feel like if Marcion was connected to like any sort of like pre church or whatever, like, you know, like son of a bishop, whatever, wouldn't they have like maybe even a small like argument, small manuscript, small thing being like, oh, like James the brother that could prove that the James the brother of Jesus did exist?
Oh, are you saying like if Marcion if Marcion was part of a church and that church
Yes.
believed that James existed and he didn't
Yes.
include James in his gospel, why wouldn't they like call him out on it? Is that what you're basically saying?
Kind of. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean that makes some sense. Yeah, because but the answer is because this isn't a real thing and James isn't a real person, and so they don't come up with the idea that Jesus had brothers, and they don't come up with the idea that Jesus actually did have one brother that became a Christian later and then died as a martyr. They don't come up with that until after Marcion's dead. So
Okay.
no one called him out on it because
Ah,
there was no need to.
yeah, yeah.
But by the
I
time the end of the second century comes around, or late second century, you got Irenaeus in 180 who says Marcion took from us. And he took the letters of Paul and ripped pieces out of it.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're claiming later on once. So basically, Marcion comes out with a story, and the story grows. But then people start talking shit about Marcion and saying, "Oh, instead of acknowledging he had the story and we added to it because that makes it sound like bullshit." Obviously, instead they say, "Oh, our real like our grown story, our big story was the first one and Marcion stole from it and he took pieces out of it to make his little story." When in reality,
Oh.
he was the origin. But they've got to
Mm.
separate themselves from him because they want to have what's called apostolic lineage. They want to be able to say our authority comes from people who actually knew Jesus, going all the way back to the disciples. So we can't acknowledge that our texts started showing up in the middle of the second. We can't do that. We've got to claim that ours are older than his.
Mm.
They're
Okay.
literally just trying to bury him. They're they're lying. That's what they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah, they're trying to cover up the fact that this text just started showing up just a few decades prior, as opposed to um, something that was original or something that was beforehand.
Okay, I see. Um, Let me see if I have any other questions. Um, no, I think all your arguments are very interesting. I do like listening to you speak. Because at first, like, it was very uncomfortable, but I'm also not the type of person to just go out and attack people. Like, I don't personally, I like, bro, like, if you're a Christian and you're just outright like attacking people, like, there's no reason for you to be doing that. But whatever. Um, I think as well as like the historical arguments that like people make, there's I feel like there's somewhat of a human argument to be made, even if it sounds like cheesy or like cliche. I feel like, man, it's been 2000 years. Like, there's so much and also so little at the same time. Like, we have this like debate going on now because we have scholars that agree that, oh, there could be a Jesus, and then there's people like you and like believers and atheists that argue, oh, Jesus never existed and Paul never existed. So I think the fact that it's up to debate says something. It's like, we don't, I feel like, maybe of course from your perspective it's like, oh, we can 100% prove that Jesus didn't exist, but I feel like it's not for like the vast majority of humans out there. It's not like that at all. Like, a lot of scholars as well um
You don't
don't
think
necessarily
somebody
agree
may
with your
have
point.
possibly mentioned to the Greeks, I've been to the top of Mount Olympus. You can go there. You can go up there, and there's nothing up there. And they still believe it anyways.
Mm, yeah, but like,
Okay,
I don't
there you
know.
go.
I don't know.
There's plenty of people who point out problems. You know how many people pointed out to the Mormons that they were fucking stupid and their book was written by a grifter,
Yeah,
and now they have
that's,
20 million people on the planet?
yeah, that's true.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many times you tell a religion, oh, hey, this is dumb, and you can prove that this is wrong.
Yeah,
They're still going to do it.
right, because humans are humans.
Yep.
But I don't know. I guess that's my sort of like dilemma, is just like, humans are humans. Like, we can never like, I feel like we can't truly tell.
That
Like,
humans are
people,
humans? Generally speaking,
no,
we
no,
can.
no. I mean, like, we can't truly tell, like based on the arguments. I feel
But we
like
can't tell
there's gonna
what.
be about the entire thing. Jesus and Paul never existed,
They
and
absolutely didn't exist. If the letters
but
show up
I
in the second century, Paul didn't write them in the first. And Jesus can't be born 10 years before he's born, and that's what Matthew and Luke say. So the Jesus and Paul of the New Testament did not exist. If you want to find another one, find them.
I don't know. I
You don't
mean,
know? You don't know that you can't be born 10 years before you're born?
oh, no, that no, that's like, okay, like, I can see your point there, but I'm
Okay,
saying,
well
I
then the
don't know, I
Jesus
like
presented in the
the
New Testament
entire.
didn't exist. So find me a different version of Jesus, carve it out, tell me why you carved it, and we'll talk about whether or not that one existed. Because the one that's presented in the New Testament didn't. And doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there's massive problems where it's impossible. I'm not even talking about the magic. We haven't even got into the magic. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
But even with like the
come on.
consistencies of like the Pauline letters, like consistencies, like as in like Aramaic, like the, or like whatever, it was written in Greek, right? The
Yep.
Pauline letters.
Mm-hmm.
Um like, I feel like they're highly consistent, highly condensed to the point where, like, even if they were written like deceitfully, or like
Which makes sense considering the fact that in Romans it says that he was given trouble from King Aretas and while he was in Damascus, but King Aretas IV, who was alive during the first century, didn't have control over Damascus and couldn't. That was King Aretas III, who died in the middle of the first century BC. So yeah, it's pretty consistently shit, if that's what you're talking about. Like, come on,
Yeah, I
man.
see what
Like,
you mean.
there's
I
just
see what you mean.
there's no way to put this in the first century. There's no, like, it's dog shit, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And the only reason that people believe this kind of stuff is because they either haven't looked into it, or they've looked into it and they just kind of started heaping mounds of reliability onto church tradition. Bart Ehrman's argument for Jesus comes down to, usually his big talking point is,
Mhm.
Paul met James, the brother of Jesus. and you can't have a brother and not exist. Cool. Where'd you even hear the idea that Paul existed? Oh, just the church? Because they're the only fucking people who mention him? Okay, well, you're just kind of trusting the church.
Paul was killing Christians.
We don't have any evidence of that. It's only in one
There
book.
is. So that book that's based on the whole.
No. And also, be quiet until we're done here, man. Just wait. I will get to you, I promise. Just hang tight. Anyways,
Yeah,
unfinished. No, it's not a real story, dude. It's not. Like I get that like it sounds like it needs to be based off of something. No, it doesn't. Like you can just kind of come up with mythologies. It's okay. Achilles doesn't have to be based off of someone. Odysseus doesn't have to be based off of someone. Harry Potter doesn't have to be based off of someone. It's just fiction. It's fine. Hercules, Zeus, they don't have to be real people. David, Moses, they don't have to be real. It can just be a story, and it is. And we can clearly see it as long as we're able to kind of set aside any kind of weird biases and set aside weird, like I said, heaping of or large heaps of reliability onto the church tradition and stuff like that. Like you see right through it. It didn't get anywhere. It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I see. I think you've mentioned this before, but the last thing I want to like end off on is like, so then do all these scholars that like agree or like like this oh we agree that Jesus existed or whatever like um majority of scholars agree like quote unquote quote you know what I mean like majority of scholars agree that this and that like Jesus existed, historical documents, whatever. But do those people only believe because they put too much like faith into the church? Is that what you? Is that exactly what you're saying? Okay.
They either put too much reliability on the church tradition or they compromise with church tradition. The first time that anybody mentions Paul is in the 2nd century, and that's Christians. So the fact that Bart Ehrman uses Paul for his argument for Jesus means that he is reliant upon Christian arguments and Christian tradition in order to back up the idea that Jesus existed.
So what it comes down to is when people look into this, they just either trust the church or don't.
They either trust it completely, or not completely. They either trust it to an arbitrarily high standard, or they compromise with it.
And given the history of the church, it's like, oh, some people look at the church and be like, oh, we can forgive that and believe it, or we don't forgive and they can easily be corrupted, and that's what religion does, so and so on.
I mean, it's just that like that's not very reliable. I mean, otherwise you just have to listen to everybody who talks about like the Greek gods and be like, well, I mean, there's some truth to it. Like, why? Like, what are you talking about? No, there doesn't have to be any truth to this.
You believe in demons?
Anyways, unfinished. Was there anything else that you had?
No, I'm grateful I had this talk.
Yeah.
Thank you. Also, I apologize for all the people that like I tune in sometimes, just like it like scrolls on like my YouTube, and every time I tune in, some slurs getting thrown around, bro. Like some people are just yelling like words, like genuinely.
No. It's like it's fine. It's all good. Keeps you on your toes.
I don't want those people to be representatives of like Christianity. Like it's not optimal,
Right. Well.
But thank you. Have a good day, and I like your hat.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Like it. Thank you very much. That was Unfinished, everybody. Unfinished. Who complimented my hat before Vice did. Anyways, and thank you very much for the compliment there on the house hat. Anyways, I was looking at the word Riz and I put like hat and Riz. I just anyways, so who dat? What you got?
You believe in demons?
What?
Do you believe in demons?
What does that have to do with whether or not two people existed in history, man?
It stems there.
It does not.
You're talking about Zeus. You're talking about all these historical characters, and I believe they all exist. They're all true.
Cool. Sounds good. So how did Jesus and Paul exist? How'd you determine that they existed in history?
Because there's history books and history facts about it.
Okay. Like what?
Just like in school, we have history books and we learn about
Mhm.
George Washington and wars and stuff like that we believe is true.
We don't
The
believe it.
same
We have
thing.
evidence for it. We have
Just
like
like
we have
we have
DNA
evidence
relatives
Jesus
there
was here.
for George Washington.
Yes,
We have
we
paintings and different things that we have from him that he posed for.
they,
We have
they
letters
have
from
this
him that stylometrically come back as him. We have
they
contemporaries
have
of
the
him.
shroud.
Say what?
We know the Romans ran the world at one point.
Yeah, cool. So we also have George Washington's teeth, and for wars we have like artifacts from that, and sometimes pictures or videos depending on what war you're talking about. But Huda, what is your evidence for Jesus or Paul? I don't give a shit about George Washington. Give me evidence for Jesus or Paul. What do you got?
But why you keep muting me, bro?
Because you're talking about shit that doesn't have anything to do with the topic. Give me evidence for
Bro,
Jesus or
I'm
Paul.
trying to have a conversation with you and you're muting me, bro.
Sweet, yeah, I am, because you're not having a conversation about the topic. Tell me about Jesus
I
and Paul.
did.
How did you determine they were historically reliable?
Historically reliable because it's written down. It's history.
Where? Where's it written
The
down?
only reason you can even
Cool.
say they don't
Where's it
exist
written
is because
down?
they're written down.
Awesome.
Like, what are
Where's
you
it written
talking
down?
about? In a lot of places, bro.
Like, give me
Books,
one.
the Bible.
Okay, how did you determine that was historically reliable when talking about Jesus? What did you
Everybody knows the
corroborate it
Bible
with?
is historically reliable, bro. The Bible comes from over 2,000 years ago. It started from
That doesn't make any
when
sense
Abraham
because
was
Jesus wasn't around. His ministry wasn't around 2,000 years ago,
Yeah,
even
the
if he did
Bible
live.
started. The Bible started over 2,000 years ago. Jesus was in the middle of the Bible. Have you ever read the Bible to know that?
Yeah, man, and he's also not in the middle because there's 66 books and only 27 in the New Testament. Congratulations, you're stupid in like 2 or 3 different languages. That
So
being
you're
said,
picking
do
and
you have
choosing
any?
words now.
Do you
Can I
have
say
any
something?
kind of
You're picking and
evidence for
choosing
Jesus or
words
Paul?
now.
Hold up, my Jesus
Bro,
Christ!
where do
You
you
guys
get
have
where do you
no
where do
patience
you get
whatsoever.
evidence for anything? Where do you get evidence for anything you have?
Okay,
ever?
would you like to go ahead and just toss out all of history? Would you like to do that, including Jesus and Paul, or did you want to give evidence for
Absolutely
Jesus?
not.
Okay,
Because
well then
history
give
is
evidence for
true.
Jesus and Paul and stop
Our
working
life
with the
is
slippery
based off
slope argument.
history. Our life is based off history.
Sweet.
Everything is based off history.
Sweet. Well, your life is not based off of Jesus because you're not a descendant of Jesus, nor are you a descendant of Paul. So please present evidence that they existed.
They exist because the people written about it.
Who?
There's no other way to
Who?
prove something
Who?
that happened 2,000 years
Who
ago.
wrote about him?
Unless you write it down.
Who wrote about him?
So your whole point is
Who
illogical.
wrote about him?
Who wrote about it?
Yes.
People back in the day, though, multiple
Who?
people.
What do you mean
who?
most of the people? There's not a single
Who wrote
contemporary
about
of
George
Paul or
Washington?
Jesus.
Who wrote about George Washington?
Benedict
who wrote about
Arnold.
George Washington? Who wrote about Abraham Lincoln? Who wrote
Joshua
about all these
Speed.
people? Who?
Joshua
Who's that?
Speed?
Who is that?
His
You know that
friend?
guy? Have you ever met him?
Joshua
You know him?
Speed?
Prove
No.
he existed. Prove
Okay,
he
just
existed.
name me one
Prove
person
he
who wrote
exists.
about Jesus.
No, prove he exists. Prove he exists. The same point you say Jesus doesn't exist.
Cool. We're moving on to somebody else who's got some wrinkles on their brain, hopefully. My Mun Hun, what you got?
Hello?
My Mun Hun, what you got?
I'm here because I low key, high key agree with what you're saying about Jesus and Paul never
It's not a
existing.
thing. I would at best be mid key. But what you got? Like, what's your?
Why? Because a lot of Jesus and Paul in the Bible contradicts everything in the Old Testament. So first of all,
What does that have to
if
do with
you,
anything?
so I'm saying the name Jesus was made up by the Council of Nicaea. You know what I'm saying? So it never existed. It just came from a council of people, right?
That's not remotely true in literally any sense of that sentence.
So where did Jesus come from?
What do you mean? Where did like the name Jesus?
Yes,
The name Jesus is in English. They didn't speak English in the 4th century. English wasn't a language in the 4th century.
In the beginning of the Bible, it was Hebrew, so you couldn't even have a Jesus.
Cool.
Because
well, the New Testament isn't in Hebrew, and also they didn't speak Hebrew at the Council of Nicaea. So what you said again doesn't make any sense. The name that the English word Jesus comes from, which again the English word shows up later, but the name like Isu from the Greek
Isus Krishna,
listen, it is used prior to the Council of Nicaea. So no, in no way, shape, or form did the Council of Nicaea come up with the name Jesus. That is demonstrably false and really stupid.
My bad. I'm not trying to say they came up with. They took Isus, right, and then they took Krishna, and they added both together, and that's where you get Jesus Christ.
No,
Later
because
on,
the word Christ
it
was
became
also used prior. That's also really stupid, especially since the Septuagint, which even predates the Christianity by hundreds of years,
okay.
some of it literally uses the word Christ 30 times for a high priest because it just means anointed. And prior to that, it was used going all the way back to Egypt because it just means anointed. It's found KRST, or what amounts to KRST, on sarcophagi, because the bodies of like mummies and whatnot were they were embalmed or whatever to some extent. That's
Okay.
that's what it's based off of. It means
I'm not
anointed.
trying to argue with you. I
Well,
agree with
you're
you that
trying
I
to
believe
state
Jesus
things
and
that
Paul.
don't make any sense. The word
Well,
Krishna
enlighten
does
me.
not come into this particular text, especially not at the Council of Nicaea, because they were calling him Christ prior to that. On top of that, we have multiple records of people talking about the Christians, which very clearly means that they were using the word Christ in that particular regard. Even say Lucian of Samosata in 166, which would be like mid to late 2nd century, talking. He's the
Okay.
first non-Christian to talk definitively about Jesus and how he's believed he is worshipped by the Christians. So very clearly, this is before the Council of Nicaea, because the Council of Nicaea is in the early 4th. We have someone in the
Okay.
mid to late 2nd saying the word Christian and saying Christ and in relation to Jesus. So no, they did not do that. The Council of Nicaea did nothing except for try to eradicate the idea of or they took a vote on whether or not Jesus was divine, or purely a man, or if he was divine and a man, like whether or not he was divine.
Oh.
That was what they did. They eradicated the idea of Arianism, which is a sect of Christianity, or a viewpoint of Christianity at that point. That's all that it was. It's not trying to pick books. It's not trying to create the religion. The religion had already been around for over 100 years, or over a couple hundred years.
Oh, well, maybe I got my facts wrong. I was thinking that they came together at the Council of Nicaea to figure out which God was going to be the God of the world, which was
Where'd you hear
Christianity.
that?
I've done some research and I heard some stuff on YouTube. I'm just looking into it because the whole Jesus being God thing is just weird to me. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, well,
And
that
all-
part's weird, but like that doesn't mean that there was some kind of weird conspiracy starting at the Council. The Council of Nicaea is just the first council that met officially under the branch of like what you could maybe consider like Catholicism, like where proto-Catholicism gets into like
Okay.
actual Catholicism, because it was sanctioned by the government. Emperor
Okay.
Constantine's like, hey, we need to meet and make sure that you guys need to meet and make sure that like you're all on the same page. Like it was
Okay.
sanctioned. So as a result, it's a hotbed for conspiracy theories, because this is when
Okay.
you see the government of the Roman Empire starting to work sort of kind of hand in hand with the religion. And so conspiracy theories abound because of this council. But
Okay.
the government was around prior, and so was the religion. And I don't know why anybody focuses that much on the Council of Nicaea. I explained why, I guess, but I don't know why it's not much more easily debunked. In fact, you know what? Let me take a moment. And I'm not bashing you necessarily, but I want people who are listening to think for a second. The Christians out there, or the historicists out there who believe that Jesus actually did exist, I need you to realize what just happened here. What just happened here is you have somebody who listened to some claim out there, and no offense to him, but he listened to some claim out there that the Council of Nicaea is responsible for coming up with this shit. He started believing it, and he's not the only one. There are a bunch of people that I talk to, and a bunch of people I don't talk to, and I've heard of, and stuff like that, who write online, who make videos and stuff like that, based off of this stuff. So you guys who think Jesus actually existed, you're like, oh, hey, why wouldn't, people be able to call it out and it would stop and stuff like that? Why wouldn't the Romans say, oh, this never happened? Why wouldn't the Jews say, oh, this never happened? It doesn't fucking matter. it is obvious that even both sides of the coin here on the Council of Nicaea, like what happened there, you have multiple takes on it because people just kind of believe what they want. And the only real way to determine if this is true or the opposite is true, which is being said at the same time, is evidence. We have to dig into it. Actually look, see what happened at the Council of Nicaea. See what happened in the 2nd century. See what happened in the 1st century and see if it lines up with the New Testament. Dig into it. Don't just accept one side and go, well, if I was wrong, then we'd all know I was wrong. No, you wouldn't until you look into it. So there is, I am not in any way bashing this guy. This guy is actually listening. This guy's actually listening and going, hey, I want to know what happened. I want to know. Maybe I believed something that was wrong up until this point, but I want to know what happened. I want to dig into it. That's what we're supposed to do. Anyways.
Fact, I feel you. So, being all that said, do you believe that the Old Testament has any truth to it?
It depends on what you mean by truth, like historical truth.
Yeah, historical truth, yes.
Very, very, very little. And even the little that is true is still told through a religious like propaganda kind of glasses. Like one of my favorite stories in the Old Testament is when Sennacherib, which is this Assyrian, I believe he's Assyrian king. They have the Israelite army is going to go fight against him. And the army's out on the eve of battle. They go to sleep or whatever. And that night, before they're supposed to fight, the angel of the Lord shows up and just unalives all of Sennacherib's armies. All right.
Okay.
And then the Israelites wake up and they're like, I guess we won. And they come back. Right. But here's the thing. At the same time, we've actually found that using like archaeology and taking a look at some of these written texts and stuff, that didn't happen. It didn't happen like that. What ended up happening was Sennacherib actually ended up getting a bunch of gifts from people like the Israelites and stuff like that, or these Canaanites or all these different Semitic people. And these gifts basically bribed them into not attacking them. So what ends up happening is there was a potential war, or potentially, there could have been a war that was about to start, but diplomacy won. Not just God, but they chalk it up to God in the story to make you be like, oh, hey, like you need to worship this God, that kind of thing. You need to you need to focus on worshiping this God who's able to save you, as opposed to men and stuff like that.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, like there's things that are real. Like I would say Sennacherib's a real person. There may have been a real battle or a real war that potentially happened there between them, but it's told through a weird propaganda kind of lens to make you believe something else intervened, that God intervened and did something. Same thing goes for Jericho. By the time that the Israelites, according to the story, would have reached the walls of Jericho, they would have already been destroyed by an Egyptian pharaoh. Because we know who destroyed it, and we know when. We have a good idea as to when, but this was still before the Israelites would have came across it. So they came across walls that were already destroyed, and then over generations started telling stories about how they were responsible for it. And they're like, oh yeah, we marched around it or whatever, and we blew our trumpets on the 7th day, and God knocked it down. That doesn't even make any sense. Like, obviously that's a miraculous story, but it's still, it's a story that shows up because people are making stories up about something that they saw. So it's told through a weird way. So did Jericho exist? Yes. Was it destroyed and the walls were down? Yes. Was it destroyed by the Israelites? No. Was it destroyed by Israelites with the power of God? Hell no.
So even like the story of Moses, would you say that's real or fake?
I would say it's fake, but there's still a very good possibility that a portion of what would eventually, some Semitic people who were in Egypt, that would eventually go on to be part of what is considered like Jewish people today, or what the Jews considered themselves to be, like their groups, their different tribes, if you will. They're in about like 300 BCE when they started writing the story. they may have came from Egypt. Maybe the Hyksos or whatever came from Egypt.
Mhm.
Josephus himself said that the Hyksos, which we do have record of them being in Egypt, they're Semitic people, but the story does not line up with like Moses per se. But it is a
Okay.
Semitic group of people who are in Egypt, and they leave Egypt. And Josephus actually said that the Hyksos actually built Jerusalem. So it does kind of sound like there's some different stories that are kind of swirling around. It's not all the
Mhm.
same. Not everybody's on the same page, but it's pretty clear that if anything like the Moses story was real, it's because there was some group of people, some group of Semitic people who would eventually be part of what the Jewish people consider themselves to be, or who consider the Jewish people Jewish people. So some part of that, some group of that, some Semitic group that used to be in Egypt.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that, bro. I wasn't trying to come here like like a
Oh no,
know-it-all.
no.
I'm really just trying to figure out the truth, honestly. I feel like it's a lot of lies out here, and I don't believe everything that the world is telling us. I feel like we're being lied to. So I really just came in here to validate what you said as, on your prompt, Jesus and Paul never existed, because I kind of believe that as well. And yeah, I appreciate, some of the insight you gave me.
Yeah, not a problem, not a problem. Hopefully you can stick around and learn some more. The chat is super knowledgeable about this. They're more knowledgeable than I am. The mods in here, they're here every day. They know more about this shit than I do, and they retain a lot of stuff. So
Right.
so talk to these people. They're definitely really smart.
Appreciate it, bro.
All right, thanks for coming up. That is
Have a
my
good one.
Munyon. My
Yep, my money. Yep. Yeah.
No idea where
Yep.
that
Weird.
comes from, but my Munyon is it's pretty clever. All right, thanks for coming up.
Appreciate it.
Wanted to get some super chats really fast before I get to QW Chungus. Again, if you're on YouTube and you want to come up, you can definitely click the link in the chat and come up on TikTok. That's how I take guests. If you don't have a TikTok or don't want to come over to TikTok, it's perfectly fine. Just send a super chat. I promise I will read it out loud and I will respond. Just like this $5 super chat there from Alan0465 said, well, actually, let me get I think maybe I read the other one. $1.99 from the prototype says something beans on toast. I'm pretty sure I read that one. But $5 from Alan0465 says Mark's late narrative seems heavily influenced by Judges 9, 1 through 15. Fig tree, vine, new wine, and crown of thorns. Late narrative. No reason to see this as history. Yeah. So you end up with I see what you're saying. Yeah, you end up with texts that are being used to create the narrative as opposed to someone actually telling a real narrative of what happened. There's a pretty big difference there. Pretty big difference. And we can tell that they're obviously using something. It's not real. And then you have like the discrepancies, like say when Jesus comes in on a donkey, that's clearly been taken from the Old Testament. But then the author of Matthew is an idiot and he puts him on 2 donkeys because, why not? Double donkey Jesus, everybody. All right, QW Chungus, what you got here as I accept these other peeps? QW Chungus, what you got?
What's going on, dude? How are you?
It's going. They're doing pretty
Right
good.
on. Oh, dude. I'll be upfront with you. I'm a Christian. I'm also a Bible teacher. I'm a seminarian. So
Okay.
I'm coming here with a pretty big bias, but the conversation sounded pretty interesting. So
Yeah.
I want to clarify. Are we talking about the historical existence of Jesus?
Yes.
Or because y'all are jumping a little bit into the credibility and infallibility of Scripture. So, I just want to, what lane are we falling into here?
Well, I mean, a little bit into the infallibility. If you believe in the infallibility of the scriptures, then you're already lost. But but that being said, I'm not really talking about that. I'm not saying, oh, it's not perfect, so it's wrong. I'm just saying, like, the last guest, or the guest that I was talking to, I guess prior to the last movie, he was saying that he asked me if the Old Testament, if I believe that was true, if any of the Old Testament was true. And I said yes, but not in the way that it presents it, really. There might be a couple different points of like reality in there that it's pretty good,
Mhm.
but most of it is still told through, like I said, the lens of religious propaganda. So even when they do talk about real things or events or people, they're going to be talking about it in a way that is explicitly trying to prop up their religion or prop up their deity as opposed to really anything else.
I got you. Yeah. I mean, coming from a particular perspective, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if we're just staying in the lane of proving the existence of Christ, because Paul and Christ, I think if you prove one, you kind of get the other, but
Can we
not
just
quite.
to
But
make sure? Can we make whenever you say Christ, are you referring to
sorry,
Jesus? Just making sure.
I am. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's yeah. Yeah. So Jesus of Nazareth, right? Yeah. I mean, I think there is an abundance of evidence that we can draw back all the way to the first century, contemporary writings, contemporary historical documents that.
Contemporary writings of Jesus?
Yeah, absolutely.
Please provide contemporary evidence for Jesus.
Yeah, well, I mean, the most obvious and often quoted one, of course, is Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews.
So really quick,
Yeah.
let me stop you there. That's not contemporary.
Well, sure. Yeah, historically speaking, anything within a 50-year period is considered contemporary.
No, that's not even remotely close. Contemporary means existing at the same time. A contemporary of Jesus would not be. Josephus would not be a contemporary of Jesus. He wasn't born when Jesus was supposedly alive. He was born in 37.
Okay, Josephus is writing in the day in which people who knew Jesus would have been alive, right?
Okay. He's not a contemporary. And also, if you said that it was within 50 years, Josephus comes out with Antiquities of the Jews in 90. So that's not even within 50 years.
Oh, okay, look, regardless.
I mean, you gave me the definition of contemporary, and it didn't even meet that contemporary. It didn't even meet that metric.
Outside of the gospel accounts, right? The Josephus is among the earliest that we can draw to, but not the only.
I mean,
and I would be.
We can go through Josephus if you want, but I mean, you do. I do want you to realize that he was not a contemporary, and using your definition of contemporary, which is within 50 years, it's also not within 50 years. It's barely within 60 because it comes out in the mid 90s. And if you think Jesus died in 30, then it would be a little over 60 years.
Okay, I got you. And again, my definition might not be exactly right, but it's relatively in the right time period.
Well, can you at least admit that Josephus is not a contemporary to Jesus? Because he was born in 37. I mean, unless you want to say that Jesus was crucified after 37, is that what you want?
No.
Oh, okay.
But okay. I will say he is a very close historical or historical writer who we know was in the location within a couple decades of these things occurring and wrote about it, right?
I mean, maybe within a couple decades of Jesus. I mean, it wouldn't really make a lot of sense. Within a couple decades of Jesus's life, he was 13 and he's from Galilee. So kinda. I mean, most of the story of Jesus happens in Jerusalem.
Right. And look, in the same sense that,
how specific do you want to be? Because you've defined contemporary and then we missed that definition. You said he's a contemporary, but he's not a contemporary because he was not even alive at the same time. But then it sounded like you maybe kind of shoehorned it into it's contemporary if it's written at the same time as other people who would have been contemporary or something. But then in that case, I mean, as long as there's somebody who is still alive from like World War I, then I guess I could write something that is contemporary to them. Like that, like no, that doesn't make any sense.
I see what you're saying there. I think here's what I'm getting at. What you have is Josephus is able to interview people and talk to people who would have lived during the time period of Jesus. And
where does Josephus say that he ever did that? That he ever talked to anybody to get this information?
Well, his Antiquities of the Jews relies on his investigations when he travels to Judea.
What? Where does he? What are you talking about? Where does it ever say that he investigated this?
Well, we know for a fact that the emperor sent him to record the histories of the Jews.
So, no. What do you mean the emperor sent him to? What are you talking about?
He was a historian for the emperor at the time. I believe
Yes.
it's Tacitus. I could be wrong,
You
or not
believe it's
Tacitus.
what?
Oh, what's his name? I'm blanking on the emperor's name at that period. But he is sent by the
At the
emperor.
time of Antiquities of the Jews?
Yeah.
There's
During that time
Domitian.
period. Okay. And he's sent to record the history of the Jewish people. And
What do you mean
the
sent to
common-
record the history? Where are you getting that?
He's tasked with doing that.
Okay, tasked. Okay, sent.
Okay,
All right.
wait. Sent. You're breaking down into like
Well, yeah,
semantics.
I mean,
like,
well,
sent
you're
or
using
tasked,
terms
like,
that I don't want to agree to because it feels like you might come around later and say, "Oh, well, he was sent. That means he went over there." You said that
Okay.
he investigated it. He never says that. You also claim that he talked to some of these people. He never says that. He never says that he got this information from someone else or he investigated it at all. And then you start to say that he was. I guess you said that he was sent to write a history of the Jews, which kind of makes some sense if you believe, or made me think that you were trying to say that he was sent from the Roman emperor's compound, which is where he lived starting in 70, all the way back to Judea or something to go investigate this like in person. But that's not the case. He wrote this in Rome. And then you had to say that by sent, you meant just tasked. And like it just sounds like there's some loaded language in there that might be coming from a place of like a narrative in your head that you've kind of come up with of Josephus actually talking to these people that we don't have any evidence for.
Yeah, but we do have evidence that he most certainly did live, travel, and circulate in and through the Judean providence.
I mean, sure, around like the first Jewish-Roman War, he was a commander of the Galilee, which is where he was born. But that's in like the 60s.
Okay, perfect. That even fits within the contemporary aspect of what I'm talking about.
I mean, okay, but he doesn't write that in the 60s. Sure, whatever.
Okay,
all right. So what?
If I
So
fight in the
Josephus,
Iraq
he's
War, if I fight in the Iraq War and then I don't write something about it until 20 years later, that doesn't mean that what I wrote about is no longer applicable because I wrote it 20 years later.
So
right?
first
If
of
it's
all,
still
it would be
about
30
that
years
thing
later.
or
Also,
whatever,
he's
right?
not writing about the war 30 years later. He's writing about something that apparently happened 30 years before the war, 30 years after the war. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about whether or not Josephus wrote about the war he was in. We're talking about something that happened 30 years before. No, 40 technically years before the war that he was in. What are we talking about here? I mean, you're talking about Josephus talking about Jesus, right? That would be like you going over to fight in the Iraq War, and then 30 years after that, you don't write about the Iraq War. You write about like how Iraq was 30 years before you got there. What are you talking about?
Or it would be like I talk about things that happened before from people who I knew and talked to when I was there.
Yeah,
right?
and you know what you'd probably do? You'd probably say, I talked to these people, and that's where I got the information. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't talk about something 30 years before you got there, because guess what? You weren't there.
But you're putting modern historical expectations on ancient antiquity historical accounts. That's not how they wrote histories back then. That's just not how it worked.
What historian? Name me one historian who gives an explanation of something that happened prior to him, but never mentions a source.
What do you mean? What, Tacitus?
Tacitus mentions sources. I mean, he's literally has the Roman archives. He was a senator. He's reading from sources that are explicitly given to the senators.
But that's not what you asked. You're not. He
names
does
his
not
source.
Say,
it's the Roman archives.
This guy. What? That's completely different than what you just said.
I said names a source. It's the Roman archives, the Senate records.
Okay, so Tacitus's, saying that he uses the Roman archives, which is
Yeah.
a vague term at best. And I'm not saying
A
Tacitus is
vague term at
completely.
best. There's archives in Rome.
I'm not saying
They
his
kept
arguments
it.
are completely baseless, but he doesn't go into I talked to this guy or I read this specific document. He just says that his sources are based on the Roman archives, right?
Which
Just as
is a
much as
document,
Josephus.
which are documents. That's why he's considered one of the best historians of all time, because he was a former senator that became a historian and actually wrote annals based off of the annals of Rome. That's why he called it that.
Okay, right. But just because he's going off of written documents, right?
Yeah.
That does not then equate that Josephus's arguments
Was he
from
going
his
off of
own.
written documents for Jesus or something?
Hold on. Let me finish my sentence there. His own experiences talking to the people that he lived with in the place where he was from. That's got to carry some level of weight, does it not?
He never says he talked to anybody over there. Like,
Then do you think he's just pulling it all out of his butt when he's saying all this stuff? I mean, do you think Josephus's account of the antiquity
we
of the
haven't
Jews
even
is
got
completely
into the
baseless?
actual Testimonium Flavianum. I don't think Josephus wrote it. So that, I
You
mean,
don't think
we are
Josephus wrote the
really
antiquity of the
far.
Jews?
Go ahead.
You don't even think he wrote the antiquity of the Jews?
No, I don't think he wrote the Testimonium Flavianum, because it's an
Okay.
interpolation from Eusebius, writing a little over 200 years after the death of Josephus, which is why we don't get any mention of it until Eusebius, where he says in Demonstratio Evangelica, "Let us now make use of Josephus the Jew," and then gives us the paragraph for the first time.
Okay, I see your point there. I'm not saying that the Catholic Church, who again I'm not the biggest fan of the Catholic Church, did not doctor some of the things that were said possibly by Josephus. But I think he gives a solid account that
Well, how
he
did you
seemed to
determine what
believe.
was doctored and what wasn't? If you're thinking he gives a solid account, how do you know that account wasn't doctored or added?
Well, because we do see what an added statement about. There's the mention of Jesus performing miracles and this, that, and the other, and the mention of him. I think it's a mention of him resurrecting.
There's
That
also a
seems to be
mention of him
added to
being the
Josephus's
Christ.
account, right?
And
And
there's a
I'm
mention of
not
him potentially being a god or more than a man.
right, and I'm
It
not.
also
I'm not
mentions
saying
that
that
the divine
Josephus said
prophets
in it.
foretold this and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him.
And I'm not saying that Josephus actually said any of those things. I would say that those are likely
Then how do you know that he gives a good
additions.
account?
Because the earliest documents that we can find at least say that he says that there was a man named Jesus
No, the
who
earliest
led a
document,
movement.
the earliest manuscript of Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews that we have dates to the 10th century, and it says all those things that you said that Josephus wouldn't have said.
I disagree.
That doesn't. I don't know what to tell you. Literally, the oldest manuscript we have of Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews, Book 18, Chapter 3, Section 3, or if your copy of his works doesn't have chapters, it is Book 18, Section 63, explicitly has all of those things that you don't think were in there. Eusebius, who is writing in the early 4th century, also has all of those things that you don't think Josephus would have said. Are you disagreeing that like the oldest manuscript we have of Josephus has those things? You think that the
No,
oldest
so
manuscript doesn't have those things?
no, so I would sparse out first and just say that in entire complete manuscripts, yeah, I mean that doesn't we don't have anything until the 11th century, but we do
10th
have
century.
well for the books 11 through 20 it's the 11th century, but whatever.
You're talking about
But
Tacitus.
no, I'm talking about Josephus. In the Codex Ambrosianus, that doesn't appear until the 11th century.
Even if that was the case, what is this doing? You're moving it 100 years later than I granted you. Okay.
Well,
So the
no,
earliest thing, do you still think it has the parts that you think are interpolated, or do you think that
no,
it
no.
doesn't have them?
Okay. Back up a little bit. I am still saying though we do have fragments and what things in early textual evidence, right? In portions of that have been translated into Latin around 5th century. And we don't have any original 1st century copies of whatnot, but the earliest fragments and quotes from it do indicate that, that those seem to be interpolations and additions to the text.
So do we have any? What you think we have fragments that don't have those portions in it?
Yeah, it's not an issue of I think
No, we
it's
don't
what
have
we
any in Greek. You mean?
no, the early fragments around the 5th century in Latin.
No, no. That would be from at best what Eusebius writes.
No, because Eusebius is writing in the 4th century.
That again, that would be close to what Eusebius writes. The only version that we have that is slightly different from what Eusebius said, and it only slightly, is the Syriac version that shows up in like the 5th or 6th century. Regardless, Eusebius still predates these and has the wrong version. We don't.
Okay.
We don't. The only version we have that is more like tame, if you will, is the Arabic version from the 10th or 11th century. But that's explicitly written to Muslims who wouldn't think he was the Christ, anyways.
Okay.
The Latin versions still include the interpolated sections.
Okay. I'll have to do more research into that.
Yeah. So this is actually from the Faith Explained's website. Let's see. It's talking about like ancient evidence for Jesus, Flavius Josephus. It says, however, the bulk of what he wrote can be trusted as authentic. Obviously, this is coming from a Christian thing. This is made even more sure by the fact that an Arabic version of Josephus's Antiquities has been discovered, where the passage in question is present minus the interpolations. The only version we have that is not with interpolations, I know that's really small there, but the only version that we have that does not include the interpolations is an Arabic version. But that Arabic version, it doesn't say when it dates to, because that would very clearly show it's bullshit. But it dates to about the 10th century or so, 10th or 11th. Let me see. I'll give you an answer here. Arabic version of Antiquities. It's 10th century. 10th century Arabic text preserved in Universal History, Agapius. Yep, that's 10th century.
Okay.
We were talking about that earlier.
I'm not very familiar with the Arabic version. I haven't done much research into that. I'll let you go here in just a second. I'll just make this last point, and I'm sure you probably been through this before. I think you get and this, I would say this is extra canonical and extra biblical, but still within Christian writings.
Are we still talking about Josephus or?
No. I kind of just moved.
Wait. So we're done with the Josephus.
Yeah, I've just
Okay.
reached the limit of what I've done.
Really quick. Give me a second.
Yeah.
That was
Fair
the
enough.
51st time since the 14th of July that I have had a discussion with somebody who believes that Josephus actually talked about Jesus. What was your next point?
Well, fair enough, dude. Yeah, I would just say that again, this is extra canonical, but still within the realm of Christian writings in the early or the late 1st, early 2nd century.
Christian
But I would just
writings?
say, yeah, Christian writings.
Ooh.
And I know I would just say these are convincing to me in my faith journey and whatnot. Such people as like Clement of Rome in his letter to the Corinthians, or Ignatius of Antioch, which comes a little bit later. I would say those evidences, or even if you can look at something like the Didache.
All right. So really, okay. So anyways, Jesus Christ. Is the Didache, the author of the Didache, are they familiar with 1st and 2nd Timothy?
I'm going to assume they were, but I mean,
Yes.
but
First
again, there was
Timothy.
other.
First Timothy mentions a book from Marcion called Antitheses in the same sentence that it mentions Gnosticism, which is a 2nd century issue there for Christianity. Second Timothy actually mentions Carpus, which is the Latin name for Polycarp, as well as his scribe Crescens.
Wait, hold on, back up. The date in which Second Timothy is written, Polycarp would not be around.
When do you think Second Timothy dates to, and why?
I would put the dating of Second Timothy in the mid to late 60s.
Why?
Because it's the last letter of Paul, and we know that he dies in the mid 60s.
Jesus Christ, dude. Okay. So, really fast. Oh, man. Okay. I mean, I can see why you're doing this. You are... There is so much to go through. How are you in... You said that you're a seminarian? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
How the hell do you not know that Paul didn't touch the pastorals? You're still thinking he's... Somehow you're still on Paul wrote the pastorals?
Oh, you don't think he wrote the pastoral epistles whatsoever? I know there's controversy about Second Timothy, but that's a
What does
whole other
this say?
thing.
Right up there.
Well,
I don't even think the
understand
guy
everything-
existed,
yeah.
let alone wrote the pastorals. Again, what is your evidence? You know what? Do you think that Paul existed? Do you think we have historical evidence of Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everybody, you know what time it is. Let's get ready to rumble! Name me one non-Christian that mentions Paul in antiquity.
I'll admit my disfamiliarity with this particular subject.
Okay. Name me one Christian who we know writes, and they say, I personally knew Paul.
One Christian who says that they knew Paul?
Personally, yep.
Very specific question. This is very ominous and nice music. Why don't you just, in a nice argumentative fashion, just lay out your argument here?
Well, you said we have historical evidence for Paul.
I actually never said that. You asked if I believe Paul existed.
I
and
asked.
said,
No, I asked
do.
you. I explicitly asked before I start hard mode, which is what you're in right now. Do you believe we have historical evidence? And you said, and I quote, yes.
I got you. Okay, fair enough.
We are looking for a Christian who says, I personally knew Paul, and we know this particular Christian writes this testimony.
Again, I'll say this. I prefaced beforehand that I was
Not a
more
problem.
concerned
Do we know a
about
Christian who says they know someone who personally knew Paul?
All right, hey,
We are going with Christians with 2 degrees of separation from Paul.
who knew Paul?
Do we have a Christian who we knew wrote something who says, I knew someone, I personally knew someone who knew Paul?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure there are.
It's fine. I mean, when you answered yes to is there historical evidence, what were you thinking of? Because if we don't have any non-Christian who mentions him, I mean, this should be easy. Paul is a guy who supposedly, according to the New Testament, he is the most infamous Christian of all time. He goes around starting churches, getting in shipwrecks that apparently Josephus was in, because his shipwreck in Acts, one of them, he ends up being in a shipwreck that apparently Josephus was in his autobiography in 99. He talks about it, which is really weird. Josephus doesn't say anything about him. He also bumps shoulders with Gallio, who we know was a real person, and his younger brother Seneca. We have 127 moral epistles about how to be a good person. Sound familiar? They're from him. They're in the 1st century. We also, because Seneca has the exact same supposed lifetime as Paul supposedly does, we would expect that he would write about at least Christianity, because he wrote books about different religions and offshoots and cults all over the Roman Empire and never mentions Jesus, Christianity, or Paul, who met his older brother. And
I got it.
Festus, he even almost convinces Festus to become a Christian. Festus doesn't say anything. He's bumping shoulders with all these people, but we don't have anything on this guy. He works for the Pharisees. He says he's a Pharisee of Pharisees, and he works for the Jewish people in order to go around and unalive these Christians. It's not mentioned in the Talmud, not mentioned in the Mishnah.
Well, I mean, those even under your own arguments, those books are written hundreds of years after the events.
Correct. But do we have anything from Paul even remotely close? Anything outside of Christianity that mentions him? Because you said we don't have anything, or you said you couldn't think of anything.
Well, I would say Clement of Rome, right?
Clement of Rome, is he inside Christianity or outside?
Well, no, because then you asked me any Christian who says
that
he
they
knew
personally
Paul.
knew him. Yeah. Does it say I personally know Paul in this, or does it just allude to Paul?
He mentions Paul.
Okay. Does he say I knew Paul? Does he say any kind of connection with going around with Paul? Yeah. In fact, it even talks about Paul as being somebody who died before the book was even written. It doesn't say anything about how the author knew him. In fact, who does it say the author is? Does it even mention Clement in the entire letter?
Hold on, I've got my facsimile.
So does it mention Clement in 1 Clement? I'll pull up 1 Clement if you want.
Maybe not.
We're going to look. This is on newadvent.org. It's a Catholic website. We're going to search for the word Clement. It appears twice on this entire site. This is all of 1 Clement. This is all of 1 Clement. All of it. And it's mentioned twice up here at the top.
Yeah. So it is not. He's not mentioning himself in the text.
Okay. Do you know why it's even dated, supposedly, to the 1st century?
Well, for multiple different one, of course, that's what the church says, but I know that's not good enough.
Well, do you know why the church says it? Or why anybody says it?
Because it supports a lot of the ecclesial structure.
That, yes, but they date it based off of this. I'll show you. I'll show you exactly why. I'm not going to shit you. This is exactly why. You can look it up. This line right here. Owing, dear brethren, to the sudden and successive calamitous events which have happened to ourselves. That's it. That's the entire reason that they think it was written in the 1st century. I shit you not. That is the most vague half of a sentence I've ever fucking seen. It doesn't say anything about actual persecution, but nevertheless, scholars look at this and they go, oh, he must be talking about when Domitian persecuted the Christians in the 90s. So they put it in 95 or 96. But multiple scholars actually found out a few decades ago that Domitian, they actually made a very, very obvious case that they laid out here, that Domitian didn't even persecute the Christians. He persecuted the Jewish people, but never the Christians. He doesn't mention the Christians at all. So even if this was about Domitian, it wouldn't make any sense. But it never says anything about how they were violently persecuted. It doesn't say anything about how they were persecuted by the government, Domitian, or anything. It doesn't mention anything else from that would date it to the 1st century.
Well, hold on. I'll push back on that on one point. When he talks about the original church leaders who have passed away, and then he goes into the second generation of leaders who have started to be kicked out or removed, that would put the date right up against the end of the 1st century. Would it not?
He says the second generation.
Well, he's saying the subsequent leaders.
Do you not think that there's generations of people within a particular text or within a particular religion? Unless he says the second, then I that's not going to date it. That just means that people have come later.
Okay. Well, I think I would look
I'd also like to point out that the Muratorian canon, which you might be familiar with there in seminary, which came out in the late 2nd century, it says that a text known as the Shepherd of Hermas was written by the brother of Pope Pius. Pope Pius was the Bishop of Rome in the middle of the 2nd century. So Shepherd of Hermas is written in the middle of the 2nd. But that author in that book says he tasked Clement with delivering a letter for him. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. That Clement is like old man to 90, but someone who's writing in the middle of the 2nd century is able to boss him around?
Right, and that's the assumption that Clement is not a highly common name during that time period.
In Rome within Christianity?
The name Clement was very common during that time period, yeah. Not
only is he in a position there in Rome that Christians say was the position that would deliver letters, he's also a Christian, specifically in one specific spot. There's no scholar who takes a look at Clement there and says this is a different Clement. They actually put them together, which is why a lot of people actually try to say that the Shepherd of Hermas is written earlier than it is, because they recognize the problem there. I'd also like to point out that the first time that we even get First Clement mentioned is in 180 by Hegesippus or Irenaeus. So they would have had to have a letter, completely anonymous apparently, that they held on to for like 85 years.
No, I disagree with you on that.
Okay, where? What did I say that is incorrect?
Polycarp's epistle to the Philippians.
What about it?
He seems to almost directly quote verse 1.
Okay. And? I didn't say it came out in 180. I just said it's first mentioned in 180.
I don't understand your point.
It's first mentioned in 180, which would mean that it's probably something that had came out fairly soon before then. I would date it, me and my co-author date it to about 150s or so, which is also where scholar M. David Litva places it. Polycarp dies in either 155 or 167, according to church history.
Okay, but Polycarp writing in his letter to the Philippians, 110 to 115.
No, not at all. He does not write in 110. The only reason people think that is because of the fact that they try to say that Polycarp had died earlier. He dies in either 155 or 167. There's no evidence he was writing in 110. This is built on a house of cards, man. There's literally no evidence whatsoever that he was writing in 110. The only reason that they try to date these things super early is because they go, oh, hey, not only is this useful for us, but they say, oh, it's dated that early because of the church hierarchy and everything like that. But unfortunately, the church hierarchy is built, this world building, this lore building and stuff like that, has been built out from the text. So in other words, a text is dated based off of like how the church structure was at that time, but the idea of how we know what the church structure was at the time is based off of the text. So they just go, it's a circular reasoning. They just say, oh, it was written at this point in time, so that's what the church looked like, and also we know it was written at that time because the church looked like that. No. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. I'd also like to point out that the reason that we can really date Polycarp is because of the fact that he is attached to Ignatius. And Ignatius, according to recent scholar or Christian scholar M. David Litva, who recently put out a video about a month and a half ago, he dates the letters of Ignatius to 165 to 170 because of the internal information that's found in there. Also, I'd like to point out there are multiple scholars who identify that Ignatius is potentially Peregrinus Proteus, who set himself on fire in 165 at the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. Now, this is after he gets kicked out of Christianity, but nevertheless, Ignatius is not even named until the 3rd century. Prior to that, he is just said to be a certain man of ours. So it's pretty clear that they're upset with him, but they still like his information because he was probably kicked out of Christianity. I'd also like to point out that Ignatius, while Eusebius claims that he died in 108 to 110, there is no modern historian that doesn't take Eusebius' word for it that puts the death of Ignatius at that time. They generally will date the death of Ignatius from 140 to 160. Generally. And that's because of the fact that Eusebius not only was an admitted liar, or at least was fine with lying, and explains why he was, but he also had an incentive to lie, to try to push things earlier, again, as you kind of stated, and I've stated again, that the earlier you push these things, the more authority it looks like you have.
Interesting. I mean, I'll admit I've reached the limitations of my 1st and 2nd century extra textual letter knowledge. But I think a lot to think about, dude. It was very interesting.
We will stop
I'll...
hard mode here. What I would say is that you got to realize that these claims for the 1st century writings and stuff like this, these claims for like church history and stuff, they're built on houses of cards. Once you actually start investigating it, you'll knock it down and it just falls all to pieces. I mean, the person who gives us the names Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John literally laid out an argument for why Jesus lived to be 50 years old. This is in 180 to 185. This is Irenaeus. So they didn't even have the story of Jesus down until the end of the 2nd century. I mean, they're still arguing about stuff about like whether or not circumcision is still required. All kinds of issues. Like it's clearly they're still working on the details. They're still working on the story.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say working on the story as much as they are, as we as humans do, trying to sparse out the nitty gritty and, cut hairs to every little bit that we can. I mean, it's very interesting and give me a lot to think about and makes me, I don't know, I'll have to do more research on a lot of this, especially relating to a lot of the dates and times of a lot of these 1st and 2nd century letters. But this doesn't affect, or this does not impact my faith in Christ, which is beyond those things. But I respect what you're doing, and
your faith is not connected to actual truth, and actual evidence. Your faith is based off of your feelings or your emotions. It's not based, and which makes sense. It's connected to that. It's not actually connected to whether or not this is true. If you're having to go through here and actually do this research because you hadn't thought of it, and you're saying, "Oh, hey, you've given me a lot to think about," but yet you're still holding true to something, that's because that's connected not to thinking, but to something else.
Yeah, look, I'll be the first to admit that my faith in Christ is a supernatural thing. Absolutely. But I believe that therein lies within creation a clear and evident way and truth that leads to an
No.
irrefutable proof of Christ. But
No,
hey,
not at all. Faith is very
all right.
clearly something that does not lead you in the right direction. If you were to take everybody on this planet who says that they have faith and just circle around the people you believe have the correct faith, the total number of people outside of that circle would outnumber the people inside of it. What that means is that faith, statistically speaking, points you in the wrong direction.
From a utilitarian perspective, I suppose.
Yeah, cool. So how does your faith somehow win compared to like the Mormons' faith when they say that, for instance, Joseph Smith was visited by Moroni, the angel?
Hey, look, I'm not
Sweet.
here
How does
to.
your faith? How does your faith somehow win? We're not going to use a utilitarian thing or whatever. I'm not going to go with the statistics, spooky numbers thing. How does your faith win against their faith? How is your faith more true than theirs? Because you said that faith is somehow how we can connect to truth. Faith is not a pathway to truth, not at all. And I'm trying to point out that people who have just as much faith as you very clearly don't believe in truth.
I got you. So you might have misunderstood what I was saying. I was saying my faith remains beyond whether or not I can fully comprehend all that God has revealed in creation.
So what you're saying is that while you don't have evidence for
it's
Jesus, good evidence for Jesus
supernatural in that way.
existing, you still have faith. Is that what you're saying?
I think there is solid evidence that Jesus exists, and
Well,
I would
please
say,
present it.
wait,
We've been trying to
hold on.
listen to it.
hold on. Beyond this back and forth on TikTok, there is even in the most atheistic scholarship, there is near ubiquitous agreement that the person of Jesus of Nazareth, who I would term as Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, he did exist as a human.
Cool.
Right?
Were the smartest
That is-
minds on this planet at one point in time convinced that the sun went around the earth? Or that the moon gave off its own light? Yeah, I don't care. Like, what ends up fixing those problems is evidence. So if I don't care how many people you can appeal to, I can appeal to people as well. You can appeal to people with PhDs. I can appeal to people with PhDs. It doesn't really matter. I understand that there's more on your side. I get that. But the reason for that is because the majority of scholars who study this stuff are either religious or work for religious institutions. Dan McClellan himself here recently, about a month ago, made a video that explained that appealing to scholarship for these kind of things is really bad, seeing as scholars generally have to sign a statement of faith document or something that says that they will not go against the institution's beliefs. So that's actually a really bad argument, and that's an explanation given by a scholar. So no, dude, like that's not going to go anywhere. Also, like I pointed out, people have been convinced, the majority of people smart people have been convinced of wrong things. The only thing that actually separates is evidence. So it doesn't matter what faith you have. It doesn't matter how much faith you have that the moon gives off light. We can find out that it just reflects the sun's light. Like, it doesn't matter how much faith is there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter how much faith you have that Zeus is throwing lightning bolts off of Mount Olympus. It's not a thing. Like, it doesn't matter. Faith points you in the wrong direction. People before Christianity had faith in things. So, not just the amount of people today outnumber with the wrong faith, outnumber the people with the right faith, according to you, but throughout all of human history, the wrong faith has outnumbered the right faith. Faith points you in the wrong direction way more often than it does the right direction. And the only real way to know what's right would again have to be evidence.
I hear what you're saying. Hey, look, I appreciate you allowing me to yap, and you've given me a lot to think about. But
can you base your belief off of the thinking? Can you at least try to do that? Can you base your belief after? Yeah, you're saying, oh, you're giving me a lot to think about, but my faith is unchanged. That means that your faith is not connected to your brain. That's the problem. You're going off of feelings. You're not going off of what you actually can know and actually study. and research the evidence.
Uh-huh.
You're not basing it off of that. You're literally saying, I'm going to think more about this because there's a potential of change, but I'm not changing this. That means that you're not thinking about faith. That is completely void of your thinking. It is not a it's not a smart decision. It's not an educated decision. It's not based on research or fact or evidence at all.
Right, right, and again, that's where I would point to the fact that my understanding about the truth of the Word of God and about the truth of the church and whatnot, all that I can grow in, but at the end of the day, my personal relationship with Jesus Christ, who is my Lord and Savior, that is something that is a personal experience.
Cool. Did you have a
that,
personal experience 2,000 years ago or sometime in your life?
No, sometime in my life, absolutely.
Okay, so we're not talking. If you think that Jesus is real today and is like healing you or something like that, I don't care. I'm talking about whether or not he existed 2,000 years ago. And if you have faith
Right.
in that, that doesn't make any sense because there's religions out there with faith that things happened a long time ago that didn't happen. So I'm trying to figure out how you have the correct faith. Really, the only way to determine that from the Mormons' faith and what happened in the 1820s is evidence. That's it. And what evidence have you presented that wasn't easily dismissed for Jesus or Paul today?
I'll have to get back to you on that, dude. I'll have to do a little more research on that.
Base your belief off of what you can actually show evidence for. It is within society's best interest to believe as many true things as possible and to stop believing as many false things as possible.
I agree with that.
If you don't have evidence for something, at the very least, set it to the side and say, I'm going to wait until I have evidence either way. The fact that you are willing to say, I will research these topics, but I'm still not changing my faith, that means that your belief is not actually based off of evidence and it's not based off of being true or false. If you truly do agree, which what you just agreed with, you agree that society is benefited when we believe it. You believe that society is benefited when we believe as many true things as possible. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is, base your beliefs off of what you can find to be true, based off of evidence.
I got you. I'll go back to what I said before. I appreciate you. You've enlightened me on a lot of things. I'm not prepared. I was not as prepared as I thought I was, dude. And I'll have to come back some other time. But dude, you really have given me a lot to think about, and I appreciate you putting in this work and questioning things. I think what you're doing is, although I disagree with you, I think
if you look into it, and my
podcast.
claims are true, what is that going to do? What are you going to do with that?
That would cause me to have a serious reevaluation of what it is that I put my faith into.
I can respect that answer.
Word, dude. Well,
All
seriously, right. Great job, dude. See you around. God bless you. Later.
Sounds good. That was QW Chungus, everybody. QW Chungus. All right. Let's see. Really fast, I wanted to hop into some super chats. $2 from It's Pillow said, my copy came Saturday. So excited to start it. Awesome. That is really, really cool. Yeah, that is a copy of Christ Before Jesus, which is available for just $3 for the ebook. There is a print version, obviously, and an audiobook version read by me and my co-author using this microphone, actually. Yeah, this microphone. Yep. Anyways, so that being said, you can check out the link that's in the chat, or there, not the link that's in the chat, the link that's in my bio, or on the YouTube profile. If you do want to come up, click the request button here or down there. If you're on TikTok, if you're on YouTube, click the link that's in the chat. There we go. I take guests over on TikTok. And then $2 there from AXP Piccoli says, Ignat, Josephus Tacitus, JRB, Bart Ehrman. Oh my god. Okay. Let's see. Bart Ehrman. Ignat. Yeah, you called me Ignat. Let's see. Joel reads Bible. Ooh, look at that. 20 misses. Or mentions. And then Josephus and Tacitus. There we go. Boom and boom. Look at that. Look at that. Hitting all of them buzzwords. And then let's see. 5 pounds from Leo's. Leo, son of God, says, do you believe in God and your views on Jews, Islam, and Hindu faith? So the first question is irrelevant because we're talking about whether or not Jesus or Paul actually existed. That's more of a historical claim than anything else. And your views on just Jews in general, just good general people. I mean, human beings. They're human beings like everyone else. But I think you mean like the Jewish faith, like Judaism. I mean, it's an Abrahamic faith. It's just a form of Yahwism. It's like a modern version of it. It's strange, I guess, because it's still based off of like Canaanite pantheon and potentially even things before that get joined to the Canaanite pantheon, which is Yahweh. So, I mean, it's, and it's a lot of it is based off of the Torah and the Tanakh, which shows up in about the 3rd century BCE and then onward. But they still had some of the concepts of, again, Yahwism and some of the things prior to that. It's a religion. It's a religion. It's basically how I view it. Islam, it's an offshoot of Christianity that gets geopolitically isolated until it becomes its own religion, similar to how Mormonism is kind of viewed as a different religion, even though it's technically based off of Christianity. Hindu faith was around before both, I think. Bofa. I'm pretty sure off the timing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was around before the Torah and before the New Testament and everything like that. Definitely before the New Testament. But I'm not really sure how old it is. I'm not really sure, but I don't really know too terribly much about it. For the most part, they're just like, oh, hey, there's a deity, and then there's a bunch of different forms of this deity or ways that it expresses itself. It's an Eastern religion, so it's going to be closer to like your way of thinking than really anything else, like a way of thinking as opposed to like an actual like, oh, hey, here's the actual history of the world or something. But it's still, again, a religion. $4.99 from Gruesome20 says, if I live my life implementing Jesus' teachings into my life to the best of my ability, what exactly am I missing out on? Probably the love of a woman, considering the fact that Jesus apparently called a woman a dog because she was the wrong ethnicity. So you'd be a racist piece of shit who instructs people to buy swords, use them, and set the world on fire, and also not bring peace but a sword and divide a man from his son and a woman from her daughter. So you'd be a bit of an asshole. So you'd probably not really be part of much of society if you lived that way. But yeah, there you go. Let's see. That I believe is it. Frenarchy. FR Anarchy?
Oh, no, it's pronounced Omar. Hey, how are you?
No, well, there's a guest right before you that was Frenarchy.
Franarchy, that's right.
Yeah, what you got?
I am Franarchy.
Sure, I know how to pronounce Omar. But anyways, Frenarchy, yeah, what you got? You there?
Well, I'm not even sure if I should be here. I listen to you all the time. I quite enjoy your talks. I'm kind of old. I'm actually 69, turning 70. Of course, I have big
69.
opinions. But the one thing that I was taught was Jesus was not Christian. Of course, we all know that. But he was real. He was a mystic. He traveled all over Asia and spoke to many other mystics. When he returned to Bethlehem, he was telling his people, don't go to the church. Don't go over there and listen to that one man talk to you about religion. If you want to know about religion, go up on the mountain there in groups and talk to yourselves. You talk amongst yourselves. And while you're at it, don't give the church your money. If you want to feed the poor, you go feed them yourselves. Well, you know, the church didn't like that opinion. Don't be telling people not to come to church. Don't tell them not to give us their money. What the hell? That's about when they'd had enough of Jesus and they got rid of him. He was assassinated because he was turning the people away from the Jewish church. Now, why was he doing that? Because he was smart like the rest of us. He saw all the shit, he saw all the corruption, and he was trying to get his people out of it, and they caught him and put him to death for it. So that's basically my opinion. If you have anything else you'd like to ask me, I'm right here.
I don't think so. I don't think so, actually.
I hope. Oh, I know you don't believe that Jesus was a real person, and I understand that. I think there's a lot of people who feel the same way. However, I personally do think he did, and I think he was assassinated because he was turning the people away from the Jewish church, taking all their money away. You know that they were and have always been corrupt. The Hebrews, the ones who left and traveled, were not the corrupt ones. The corrupt ones were the ignorant Jews who took over. They were all the globalists, the ones with all the money and in control of everything. And they pretty much continued, as we're seeing now. We know who the
Woo!
What the hell are you talking about?
Well, that got out of hand fast. That jumped up a notch. Woo-wee!
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, well, that was that was something else. All right. Franarchy, is that how you pronounce your name?
No, it's Omar.
Oh, okay. What you got?
I see what you did there. Hey, so yeah, I mean, why do you say they never existed?
Because the stories of the New Testament, even the natural ones presented there in the text, do not line up with the first century, or what we know about the first century.
Sorry?
Even the natural versions of Jesus and Paul as presented by the New Testament, their stories do not line up with what we know about the first century.
Oh, and what is that?
Like, let's
Well,
see,
can I ask
Pharisees in Galilee. Jesus runs into Pharisees in Galilee, but someone from Galilee in 37, Josephus, says it would be good for Galilee to get some Pharisees because they weren't there. They're a political group that spends their time around Jerusalem.
So are you pointing out a contradiction?
I guess with reality, which would be like a anachronism, is the term.
Okay, cool. Are you familiar with the miracle of the sun in Portugal?
Yeah, cool. So what's your evidence for Jesus or Paul 2,000 years ago?
Yeah, I just gave you my evidence. It's a
I
miracle.
know it's not. That doesn't have anything to do with it. Was that 2,000 years ago or was that today?
I was in 19. I
Yeah,
believe
so it
was
doesn't
in-
sound like 2,000 years ago. Give me evidence for Jesus or Paul 2,000 years ago.
Okay, I could, but why do you want 2,000 years ago?
Because that's when the New Testament says that they were existing. It doesn't say anything about the miracle of the sun, and it doesn't say anything about Portugal because Portugal wasn't a fucking place at the time. So please give me evidence for Jesus or Paul.
But you're going to hell, man. I'm
Sounds
sorry to
good.
tell you.
I'm taking your mom with me.
That's
All right. The real DeAndre Scott. How's it going?
Good, but I don't. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have an option to mute. I don't know what happened, but
You don't have an option for what?
I don't have like the option to mute myself. It like disconnected me, then it brought me back up, and then I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that. It was weird. It's like, yeah, I don't know. And it's TikTok. And what can you do about it?
it's
But
okay.
anyways, what you got there for us, man?
Yeah, so I actually bought your guys' book, and I was reading.
Thank you.
I've been reading it for some time now. So, if I'm not mistaken, the methodology that you guys are using to verify if these are accurate writings is the methodology called stylometry.
What do you mean accurate writings?
If they are not fabricated, if they're authentic, written by who they claim that they're written by.
They don't
Not,
claim to be written by anything.
yeah, they do. They claim to be written by John, Luke,
Where
Mark.
does John claim to be written by John?
It's according to John.
Do you think the title was on the document?
No, it was ascribed to him.
Yeah, that's my point. It doesn't say anything in there about it being written by John.
Okay, well,
Neither does Matthew about Matthew, Luke about Luke, Mark about Mark.
my point is, I just want to go down the line of logic here.
Mhm.
You're saying that these manuscripts are not reliable because they don't show evidence to date back to the 2,000 years ago in the time of Jesus and Paul.
What do you mean? In short, to answer your question, what I think you said, the answer is no. That's not what I do. But elaborate a little more on what you're saying. Ask the
Okay,
question
so-
again in a different way.
So you use in your book, you use a methodology called stylometry. It's claiming in the book that it's the first of its kind, but it was used by
I don't
other
know what you're
people.
talking about. We never say that we're the first to use stylometry on the text. We never say that.
The book Christ Before Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do say it.
No, the methodology, like the methodology itself, or like how we're
Yeah,
using stylometry, or stylometry in general.
Computer stylometry.
No, we are not the first to use it.
Yeah, but that's the claim. Anyways,
It is not the claim. I understand that you're reading the book, but you're not comprehending the book. That's the problem. Sounds like your reading ability is a-okay, but your comprehension sucks. Because we never say that we are the first to use computer science or data science or stylometry using a computer on the Bible. That's not a thing. It's the size and the scope of what we're doing, which would be like the first of its kind, not the actual
yeah,
like
that doesn't
not
even
the
mean
actual analysis
the
itself.
size and the scope is the first of its kind. What does that even mean?
What that means is that there hasn't been stylometry that has been ran on the Greek New Testament at the chapter level or the duo chapter level, and there also hasn't been stylometry ran on, and that would be the scope. And then as far as the size goes, there hasn't been stylometry ran on as many different texts as we run it on. Like from Greek things from the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, possibly some also in the 4th and the 1st century BCE. No one has ran it on that many all in one analysis, and no one has ran it at this like scope, like zooming in as much as we have. So that's the first of its kind, not the actual use of stylometry. And we explain this in the text. You would have understood that if you read it slowly.
I guess it just doesn't make sense to say to attribute it to be the first of its kind. Whatever. I'll move past.
Well,
that
I just
point.
explained exactly why it makes sense. Your lack of understanding is not a valid argument against it.
Okay, well, that's not how it's presented, but it doesn't matter.
It is how it's presented. It's just you don't understand.
Okay,
like I get that you're capable of reading, it sounds like, but again, your comprehension is dog shit. You're going to have to read that again because we don't say that this is the first time that anybody has ever used stylometry on the Bible. That doesn't make any sense. So I don't know if that was your entire argument, but you're doing terrible. And you're gone. I didn't even drop you. You just kind of ran on your own.
Now that's what I call a Texas barbecue.
All right. Oh, yeah.
Y se marchó.
There we go. All right. Let me get to some super chats really fast. Oh, the same person. $1.99. Gruesome 20 says, so no real answer. LOL. I'm married, by the way. Okay. Well, I mean, you're missing out on if you're implying Jesus' teachings in your life. You're just an asshole. Like that's just kind of how it goes. You're missing out on like actually like fun parts of life where you're able to communicate with other people who actually enjoy being around you. Just because you're married doesn't automatically mean that like people enjoy being around you. I don't know if you know this, but like there are tons of people who are married who do not enjoy being around their spouse. So yeah, if you're implementing Jesus' teachings, they're gruesome 20. They're on YouTube. You might be an asshole. Anyways, Zeno Lapudre there. Yes, you are a member and you've been a member for a month. And anybody who's a member actually gets one free super chat. That's just something that YouTube does. You get one free super chat there per month. And yeah, it says, I just found this message thing. Queef be upon you. All right, so that's another one there. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just. Yep, there we go. Wait, what the? There's an. Geez, here, let me erase that one and just put it right over here. There we go. Okay, there's things. Okay, I need to fucking count those things up, anyways. All right. All right, they might only like their spouses, maybe. So, let's see. Bert Erfman. My handwriting's not that bad. No, leave the mic on while you chew. We want to hear. We don't want to hear. There was one time that I forgot to do it, and Storm was like, "What the fuck?" I had to make sure to mute it the next time. I like my kids more than I like myself. So there you go. There's Fabian. All right, both of these, man, rude. All right, so it looks like the real DeAndre Scott is requesting back up.
Yeah.
All right, how's it
I don't
going,
know
man?
what's
You're
going
practicing
on.
what Jesus said and turning the other cheek so I can get the other side of your ass?
I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on.
Well, you
I
ran. That's what
I can
happened.
mute now
Do you have
though.
anything
So
else?
no, it literally just dropped me like it did the first time.
I didn't drop you at all. I was in the
No,
middle of
I'm
talking
not
to
saying
you.
you did. I'm not saying you did. I'm saying it dropped me. Like it just dropped me off. I don't know. TikTok is just. I don't know.
All right. Well, what you got?
Okay, so like I was saying,
You're going to go back to that? Very clearly, you didn't pay attention to what you were reading.
Okay, that wasn't my point.
Oh,
point
well, then
is-
skip to the point then. If that wasn't your point at all, just skip to the point.
I'm trying to.
Okay.
So my point is the method in which you guys were using the stylometry is not clearly defined. There's two different methods that are claimed to be used.
What two different methods do you think that we used?
I believe one of them was called something decode. So I have to go back in with my notes.
Fucking Christ, dude. I mean, I don't know what he's talking about. All right, we'll just while he's piddling around looking at something, we got $1.99 from the prototype says, "You can't queef me down. Don't overthink it." I'm not. I'm not overthinking it. Blackjack 8043 since £5 says, "Do you believe Jesus was invented for a certain theological purpose? If so, by who and why?" New here, so if this has already been addressed, I apologize. Yeah, no worries. Theological purpose, kind of, sort of, yeah. I would say that the concept of Jesus is something that shows up from Marcion in 144 because it unites loosely affiliated pockets of Christianity under one particular banner. We preach Christ Jesus, not other Christs that these Christians would have potentially worshipped. So it unites everybody under one thing, under one roof, as opposed to different communities that believe different things based off of their local cultures and local gods.
It's a little hard for me to like cite the book and run it here at the same time. So here's what I'll go. I'll go. I have to base off memory. I'll just make it real simple. The methodology used called stylometry is not one that you can use to date text. So that's
yes, you can.
Problem.
If someone is known to be the author of a text, does it have to be written during their lifetime?
Yeah, but you can't prove
Yeah,
that with
dumb.
stylometry.
Yeah. Stylometry proves, or stylometry digs in to see the authorship, correct? Like it assigns authorships. Is that correct? It attributes authorship. Is that what it's used for?
Yes, it
Okay.
validates the
So if
authorship.
I
Yeah.
found out that, that say for instance, I don't know, if I found out that Barack Obama wrote something using
Mhm.
stylometry, then it would need to be written during the lifetime of Obama, correct?
Yes, you would also need a
Okay.
manuscript.
Listen.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Will I then be able to date that text to the lifetime of Obama?
Not by using stylometry.
Oh,
no.
yes. Yes. So using stylometry, we can prove that Obama wrote it, right?
No, that
We
you can
can't?
only if you have other manuscripts that you can confirm he wrote first.
No.
That's the only time you can do that with
No.
stylometry. Can you prove that?
What are you talking about? Like, are you saying like just to compare it to? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I've already given you the idea that this is a Barack Obama. Can we use stylometry
Exactly.
to prove that
That's the
Obama
problem.
wrote something? That's already insinuated that
No.
obviously. Oh, we can't.
Well, here's the problem. Obama has been confirmed in our time to
Okay. Can
had
we
writing.
confirm that George Washington wrote something?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So
But
using
he's
stylometry, we can
written-
confirm that George Washington wrote it, which means it has to come out in the 18th century. Or
you're
correct?
comparing it to other writings that are authentic.
Correct?
Yes, and here's a caveat.
Okay.
You're comparing
So
it to other
that is
writings George
that is the
Washington had
end
in
of
his
the
time.
discussion. If you'd like to
No,
make
it's
another point,
not.
you can. We can very clearly date something using stylometry if we're able to find the style of the author. On top of that, that is not at all the only way that we are dating things. If you have read the book, did you not read the first 6 chapters?
This is.
Did you not read the first 6 chapters?
Yes.
Okay, what were the first 6 chapters about? What were the first 6 chapters about?
Without using
What were the first 6 chapters about?
Why are you avoiding me asking that?
I'm asking you a question. I need you to prove to me that you actually did read the book. You said you did. Now prove it.
Have I not already?
No, you haven't, because you very clearly can't even really tell us what 2 methods we said we used. You weren't able to say one of them. So, that being said, please tell me, what were the first 6 chapters of our book about? What were those about?
How you're able to date a text and attribute it to a person.
How? How were we able to do it?
Based on the time of the text, the time frame of what the text is speaking about. So that the facts of the text at that time, and like, okay, it makes a mention of something that's happening in the time of Obama, like when Obama was in office.
We don't mention Obama in the first 6
I know.
chapters.
I'm summarizing the.
No,
the
tell me
context
what's
of
in
it.
the first 6 chapters.
I can't cite it to you.
Yeah, you can. Why not?
No, I can't.
You've
I don't
read it,
have
haven't you?
memorized. Yeah, but I can't.
Just
cite
tell
you
me
Harry
about something
Potter
that we
either.
talk
I've
about
read
in
Harry
there.
Potter like 10
Tell me
times. I
something
can't-
that you read in there, because you're
that's what
up
I'm
in
saying.
arms about something that was written in maybe the 7th or 8th chapter, but you can't
Yeah,
tell me
so-
about the first 6.
So what I'm saying is, you
Tell me
make
something
mention-
that's written about in the first 6 chapters.
Are you gonna let me?
I'm going to
you
let
make a-
you answer the question.
Yes. So you make mention of how you can date a text and compare it to the events that are being listed, the events that are being
Like
listed
what?
in the text, to the time frame of those events.
Like what?
And react. I just gave you an example.
You didn't give you just said Obama. Like
Yeah, so-
what
and
example
what I
did we
was-
give?
So okay, like with
Like give me an
Obama,
example of what we talk about. Yeah, that's what I'm
we
saying.
can know that if Obama made a letter in 2012.
He is not arguing from a place of good faith. All right, let's see here. $5 from Zeno Laputre says, a real question, can you explain any other connections between Polycarp and Carpus? I like the example of when it says to bring the queef that was left. What are you even talking about? What are you talking about? the cloak. The cloak. Yeah. So just no. What that guy was talking about was he was talking about stellometry and everything like that. He was trying to poke holes in that. But again, we don't even need to invoke stellometry to talk about these particular things. There's been multiple conversations I had today. In fact, man, I don't even think in the entire conversation that I had with that guy from seminary, I don't even think I mentioned stellometry in there. I don't think I did. I don't think I mentioned it at all. I didn't even say the word. So yeah, people tend to get hung up on that. I mean, he was hung up on like the nuance of how we present it, which shows that he's very clearly not from like a place of good faith. Because like, if your biggest contention or your first contention that you have with us is that we are presenting stellometry as if we invented it or something like that, like, no, we very clearly didn't. And if that's your biggest gripe, or if that's the first thing that you go to, that shows me that you're not actually going to be talking about this in a way that's actually going to be conductive in any way. We need to be able to have a conversation of what I say and what Matthew says in his chapters regarding like all of it, not just the thing in the 7th and 8th chapters that just kind of goes over what we talked about. Even if you were to take those chapters out, our argument would still be the same. Wouldn't make any fucking difference. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Trying to put that book up. Okay. Let's see. But explain any other connections between Polycarp and Carpus. So Polycarp is said to have died in 155 to 167. 167 is also when they say Carpos died, alongside Papilus. That's Papias and Polycarp. Papias and Polycarp were said to have known each other and also be hearers of John. They supposedly lived at the same time. It's insane that Papias and Polycarp are shoved so early. Realistically, the only reason they're shoved so early into the 2nd century is because they're said to have been hearers of John. If you get them too late, then they can't be hearers of John. If Polycarp and Papias both died in 167, how the hell are they able to hear John? And so it's I think it's funny that like scholars in many cases see that something could potentially be problematic, so they all willy-nilly just decide to change things. They change when they just randomly throw out Clement as being written in the late 1st century with no supporting evidence. They claim that Papias and Polycarp were early in the 2nd century because if it says that they're from hearers of John, then they'd have to be if John is the actual disciple. So therefore, we're going to do it regardless of any other evidence. Also, the Didache. The Didache was not really considered initially to be in the 1st century, but suddenly people start moving it into the 1st century because if we recognize that it is in the like mid to late 2nd century, that's going to be problematic. It's going to make it look bad. It's going to make things pretty rough. So yeah, there was somebody who was saying that the Didache, it was yesterday, I think. They were saying that the Didache was like one of the earliest texts or something like that. And I'm like, of the New Testament, I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. That definitely doesn't make any sense. Earlier today, that seminary student mentioned the Didache, and I pointed out that it is aware of 1st and 2nd Timothy, and he acknowledged that. But then he said that wouldn't make it to 2nd century. I was like, why not? And he said, because 1st and 2nd Timothy were written by Paul. You have to accept things that are definitely not true in order to help make this as early as possible. You have to assert things that you don't have any evidence for in order to make this as early as possible. We are simply, what Matthew and I are really doing is we're simply saying, hey, we're not just going to accept church tradition. We're going to require that they back things up either by some kind of contemporary or some other evidence found within the text to actually date it. We're going to use literary criticism. We're going to use stellometry to help try to find authors. We're going to use textual criticism where it mentions certain things. We're going to use contemporary evidence, and we're going to see if it backs itself up. We're not just going to accept it just because the church says it. That's really the biggest difference between us and what scholars are saying when they say this is New Testament or first century stuff. All right, let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, he was saying the Didache was the other guy, it was the first translation of the New Testament. I don't know what he was talking about. I honestly have no idea what he was talking about. Like, the Didache is definitely not. He was saying that like the birth of Jesus was in it. I think what he meant to say was the diatessaron, and I mentioned the diatessaron because the diatessaron, but he said no, that's not it. The diatessaron, excuse me. It is a ancient literary work that combined the four Gospels of the New Testament into a single narrative. So, like, that was maybe what he was talking about, and I think he got it confused because I was saying that Matthew 2 and Luke 2 include these particular texts, and they don't actually include those things. Or I was saying it includes these stories, and they're problematic, and he was saying, oh, no, the diatessaron, he was saying the Didache. The Didache actually had it correct. And I was like, but that doesn't have anything to do with it. So it was very strange. And I've got another super chat to get to, but let me go ahead and bring up my good friend Nick here, if he's going to connect. All right. Apparently, Nick is not able to connect there. I don't know why. Is that cyber? Oh, no. Nick Nick Graves there. I don't know if. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, disappeared there. $5 from Ron Lowther. It says after playtime last night, my wife queefed and I thought of you. Is that weird? P.S. Happy birthday. It's a little weird. It's a little weird. I mean, Zeno says not weird at all. Good God. Good God.
Have you plugged Bible Libel today?
I don't know if I have or not. I have no idea. I should. But yeah, Bible Libel is on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Sunday night, 9 p.m. Central, that is. Central. And it is, I guess it'll be on this channel yet again here on TikTok. So if you're on YouTube, make sure to mosey on over to the TikTok. You can click the link in the chat, and that'll actually take you over to the TikTok. That's how I take guests anyways. But yeah, you can definitely follow me. Or if you're on TikTok, make sure to follow Christina the Godless, because here eventually she's actually going to be
running the
she's
show.
going to be hosting it. She's going to be running the show. And the show will be... Oh, sorry. They're right next to each other. But yes, it'll be awesome whenever she starts running it.
Yeah, you just don't want the responsibility.
I don't. I would prefer to ride on Christina's coattails.
See, I'm riding on your coattails. How does that work? How do we ride on each other's coattails?
It's a circle jerk coattail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how that works. It's circle coattail.
Thank you for plugging. So somebody's at my door. Sorry, my dogs are freaking out. Bye.
It's just a bigger dog. All right. That was Christina the Godless, everybody. 1/3 of Girls Gone Godless, found where all podcasts can be found. And also 1/3 of Bible Libel, again, on TikTok, Sunday night, 9 p.m. Central. Follow my channel or her channel to catch us. All right. Let's see. I don't think Bree's in the chat. I haven't seen Bree. So I think you should be good there. See, he does bring up people who agree with him. What? Wait, did you think I didn't? Wait, what? What are you talking about? Bree says 9 p.m. is so late. Nah, you're fine. you were 9 p.m. is like when Kesha went on. She didn't actually go on until 9 p.m. Miss me with that shit. All right. Up the Iron says no contemporary evidence for Socrates himself. He wrote nothing. Oh, that's not true at all. Up the Iron, up the 3 Irons or something. Come on up because I want to talk to you about that and how untrue that is. The skull is chirping. Yeah, that was with my girls. Well, get your girls together and let's watch some Bible Libel. It's just an hour. All right. Let me on. I just requested you up. Oh, you might not have enough followers or something. I just sent you a request. Oh, how do you draw? Okay, I think I just created it. Yeah, I'm saying thanks for informing. Okay, no. Yeah. So if once you get to enough followers, you have to have like 10 followers, I think. And then you can actually like join the request there. But yeah, just stick around there in the chat. Eventually you'll get 10 followers. Just, people are, it says this is a new account. I don't use TikTok. Guys, if you want to give up the 3 Irons some followers so that they can come up, I mean, that's perfectly fine with me if you want to do it, but it's up to you. Said you have to have a 1-week-old account or 10 followers. Oh, okay. All right, well, if you have 10 followers, then that'll help. Said, I literally just joined to talk to you. Well, you're starting to get followers because you got 1 follower now. So you might be able to get some followers and might be able to come up and have a conversation. Hopefully it's good. Said, I'll be back in a week. Okay, well, you got 10 followers now. So you might be able to join up. I'm not really sure. Maybe. Just kind of depends. He's got 10 now. Actually has 20. Oh my god. All right, stop it. I don't know. You might be able to see it. You might be able to see the request button. It may take a second for it to kick in. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Happy birthday, Jared, from Dionysian Masks. $2. It's not my birthday. Why is it 2 messages in a row that have my birthday mentioned? By the way, I'd like to also point out that Joel Reads Bible is on the board because Joel Reads Bible is the streamer of the week. Streamer of the week there. Joel Reads Bible. There we go. Joel Reads Bible is mentioned up there in all of his glory. Make sure to follow him over there on YouTube and TikTok. He also has Joel Sings Christianese, which is an album on Bandcamp with a lot of fun tracks on there. A lot of fun tracks. And is only $10 Canadian, which, again, comes out to, I think it's about $3 USD, as well as a green 4 from Uno and a Monopoly... a Monopoly... Advanced to Boardwalk card. It's a chance card. Tony Complete says, do you like Joel? Do I like Joel from like Joel Reads Bible? Yeah. Why wouldn't I? Has he said something about me? Is he talking shit? He better not be. He better not be. Oh, his content. Yeah. Yeah, I like his content. I think his content's really good. The is the fact that like, so I do it every once in a while. He does it a lot, and that's when like the joke is on the guest. But Joel does it in a way where the guest doesn't know that the joke is on the. Joel and Mezzo are both about the same thing there. Jezzo or Mole reads Bible. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. Joel speaks French. Yeah. Let's see. The tongue speaking prayer the other day. Yeah. How about Joel's in general? So there's a Joel that is a scholar that Matthew and I are good friends with. And then there's a Joel here on TikTok who's not a scholar, but I'd say we're pretty good friends. I'd say we're friends, yeah. And then there's a Joel that Matthew and I grew up with who is like a street preacher, and we fucking hate that guy. Like, he's terrible. He's an awful person. Oh, Joel Osteen, but I don't know that Joel. Let's see here. Let's see. Zan, if you're in the chat there. Oh, yeah. You've been watching for over 35 minutes. This is going to sting here, buddy, but I'm going to send you an invite. If you don't accept it, I'm going to block you. Just because, I don't like you. But if you accept the invite, you can come up and we can have a conversation. I won't block if you accept the invitation. And you didn't accept the invitation. Sorry, buddy. All right. I like how it says you blocked Zan and it says don't block. Let's see. I don't do Joel from AZ Mike. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I can enjoy every once in a while a good old maple leaf tea. I like Joel. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a solid guy. I think he's a solid guy. Solid. Rock solid. Abs of steel. But yeah. Robin says, were there any proto-Jews in the same way there were proto-Catholics? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It would have been some of the people who led to the writing of the Torah, people who had a particular take on some of the Yahwism or some of the Jewish beliefs or whatever, and they ended up bringing those to the table whenever they actually put things down. Yeah, so I would absolutely, yeah. There'd be people who would be that, I mean, in the sense that it almost be like pre-mainstream Judaism or like proto-Pharisee, if you will, I guess. Or proto-Mosaic. That actually sounds like an actual like era of like dinosaurs or something, but like a proto-Mosaic maybe I'd call it. Modern rabbinic Judaism also had to have started said like proto-rabbinic. Yeah. All right. This person says idiocy. Well, I'd like to hear what they have to say. Holly says, go Cubs. Holly got muted for 5 seconds. All right. There's a what's up, bro? Go Birds. Which birds? Which bros? Which birds? That depends. Your answer is going to somehow. The hat has gone to his brain. Eagles. Definitely not. I'm getting a 5 second mute. There you go. All right. Historically, they did not, brother, because the Bible is mythology, not history. Exactly. There's another Go Cubs. We're going to go ahead and just mute that person right there. And there we go. Enjoy that there, Aaron. Go Steelers is also going to get an... actually, I'm going to just kind of leave that one alone for right now. If you say Go Pacers, the mute goes away. All right. Except Aaron Rodgers. Oh, okay. No, Aaron Rodgers is the only good thing about that team. Not because of him as a person, but because him as a player. Aaron Rodgers is like Kobe for me. Dog shit person. Amazing athlete. Bree says, I think we root for the same team, so go Hurricanes. There you go. Bree. The Hurricanes are in Carolina. I think, pretty sure it's North Carolina. Yeah, Raleigh. Rude. The what? The Hurricanes. What?
That is, I don't know what hurricanes you're talking about, but it's not the one I'm talking
What
about.
hurricanes are you talking about?
The Miami Hurricanes, of course.
Oh.
There's a hurricane in North Carolina?
What are you talking like the college team?
Yeah, I told you. I'm pretty sure we root for the same teams in professional. So go college.
Ugh. Wait. So who's your favorite NHL team?
I don't know any NHL. So I guess whatever Miami is. I don't know.
Well, that's not great,
Whatever.
but it also doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, okay, then who's your favorite basketball team?
The Heat. What?
What led you to believe that we would have the same favorite anything?
Football and baseball.
What's your
That's all I
favorite
got.
football team?
Cowboys.
What's your favorite baseball team?
The Rangers.
Jesus Christ. All right, we don't have the same anything. Not the same college, not the same NHL team, go Stars. Not the same basketball team, go Pacers. Not the same baseball team,
Sure,
go
go
Cardinals.
Stars.
Not
I
the
don't know,
same,
man.
not the same football team, go Pack Go. Like what is happening here?
Go Pat Go. Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm sorry. I like cheese.
I'm a fan. That's true,
Your
Ash.
name
I'm
is
a fan
literally
of your wife.
cheese.
We're both
you don't.
we're both fans of your wife.
How?
We're both fans of your wife.
But she's not a professional.
That's true.
I mean,
She's
she is
a professional at my heart.
All right. So, fair enough. Worst collection of teams. Anyways.
Anyway, goodbye.
Oh, she's gone. Oh, shit! I'm okay with the Rangers. I'm okay with the Mavs. And I'm okay with the Cowboys. But I'm not a fan of Jerry Jones. And I'm not a fan of the ownership of the Rangers saying no to Pride Nights. And I'm not a fan of the Adelsons. So I'm okay with the teams, but I fucking hate the ownership of those three things. The only group that I'm okay with is the Stars, and they're like the redheaded stepchild of Dallas sports. All right. Yeah, I also hate Jerry. Yeah. The ownership of the teams just absolutely sucks. Except for the Stars are fine. The ownership of the Stars is like fine. Who cares? The Stars came from Minnesota. Yeah. And then they won a Stanley Cup. So, thanks, Minnesota. Also, your dog shit team will never be anything. All right. And they're just living in the shadow of what once was the North Stars. How's it feel to be living in the shadow of Mike Madonna and his better self? Anyways, we're gonna go. We're gonna go ahead and it's tough. I don't have anybody coming up, guys. I don't know who any of these people are. I just named one person. Well, maybe Jerry Jones or something. Well, yeah. That's a good point. Is this suddenly ESPN? Yeah. Well, it's okay. Maybe you can end the live and enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, maybe. Maybe I can. I don't know who Hey Ready Up. Do I know who that is? I have no idea. They've sent one like this entire time. Bree has sent a total of 0 likes. That's pretty cool. Jesus. All right. Damn. Winning. All right. It just randomly showed up on live. I don't know how I get it. Well, Hey, ready up. Why don't you come up here and talk? Hit the request button. We'll talk about it. I'm still all tapped out from Daniel's lives. Oh, you're still... Oh. Wait, did Daniel start going live? Did he? I didn't know he did. Someone else go up. Find that kid and take your follow back, folks. No, it's been a year. Oh, so it's been a year and you're all tapped out from that? We posted a meme the other day. Okay. I usually up 25,000 times alive for 6 months. Good God. Do you have fingers? Have any theory why the Dead Sea Scrolls were written? Written? I think some of them may have been potential, like, originals of the Torah. So, for the purpose of writing the Torah. Oh, Daniel's been going on other lives. I didn't know that. If Daniel's in the chat here, he should go up. I would say hidden or written. Oh, hidden. Oh, okay. I thought it was written. Hidden. Probably to preserve them. Just to preserve them. I think the going theory right now, I believe, is that they hid them on the way out from like maybe the first Jewish-Roman War or something like that. Edant, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Hey, doing good.
I actually have a question. I was listening to you yesterday. I just come across you. My boyfriend's actually sending me your book. He's a big fan. I am a Christian.
Okay.
He is an atheist.
Oh
but
wait, I know who you are. Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the lawyer.
Yeah. Hey. Okay. Well. Yeah. Hey. How are you? It's good to finally talk to you then.
Yeah.
I was listening to you because he actually he's actually the one that introduced you to me, showed me your live. And I was listening a little bit yesterday and I heard you say something about Nazareth in the 1st century. And I've never heard that before. And I've been doing some research about I think your argument was there was no evidence for anyone living in Nazareth in the early 1st century.
In the early first.
Right.
And especially not in a way that the New Testament talks about it. Because the New Testament says that it's got enough men to mob Jesus, and also it's got a synagogue there, which would be pretty impressive.
Okay, so what do you make of the limestone vessels that they found at Nazareth? Because my understanding is that they associated this with the Jewish practice in the first century,
Jewish practice of what?
of just of Jewish people just being there. I don't know. I've never heard that claim. This is the first time I
So,
heard it, and I'm very interested in it. I've been doing research on it.
I mean, there are places around it, definitely. I mean, they've found a few things, I guess, in the area, sort of, kinda. But I mean, there were towns that were nearby. There was a cemetery that was just a short, like 5-minute walk north of that area. So
Interesting. I've never heard that claim. It's interesting for sure. Um, so do you think? So at what point do you think people actually started living in Nazareth?
So there's a potential for some living in that area after 70, after the first Jewish-Roman War, and then there's if it's not then, it would be later on into the 2nd century. It does get mentioned by Marcion in 144. Jesus does go to that area and talk or preach from a synagogue there. But other than that, there's no, like, it doesn't say it's his hometown or anything like that in Evangeline. But later on, it becomes his hometown. But we do have mention of it there from Christians in that time period. The first time it's mentioned from non-Christians would be quite a bit later, though.
Yeah, when you say when it's mentioned around 144, what source could I go and study that under? I would love to look at
That's
that.
just Evangeline. Like,
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, that's interesting. And then also, I wanted to ask you about. I heard you say something the other day about. I didn't catch all of it because I had to get off, but you said something about a rabbi. Dang, I don't remember the whole argument, but if you could repeat that to me again, I would love to hear it.
a
Something about
particular rabbi or
rabbis.
just the word rabbi?
No, it was something about rabbis and something about God, I don't remember. I caught the end of it. Something about them being mentioned in the Bible before rabbis were a thing. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if
So
I'm saying
in
correctly.
Matthew
Yeah.
23, Jesus discusses rabbis and talks in pretty good detail about, like, the position of a rabbi, like wearing certain clothes, sitting in the synagogues, that kind of thing. But the first rabbi would be Yohanan ben Zakkai, according to the Mishnah, starting at the first rabbinic school outside of Jerusalem at the approval of Emperor Vespasian after the first Jewish-Roman War destroyed the temple. Prior to that, we don't have any mention of the word rabbi before then. Like, we just don't. It's a position that shows up in 70.
Interesting. I'm definitely gonna get my hands on that book. Like I said, he's gonna send it to me. I'm gonna read it. I want to take a read on it. He did tell me that you wrote it almost like courtroom style. So he said it would be really
Kinda.
interesting.
I heard him kind of saying that, like, that would interest you. Kinda.
Yeah.
Like, it's we have some themes every once in a while that, like, it's kind of explained that way, but it's most of it is just detailing stuff from the ancient historians and church fathers and the epistles and the gospels and stuff like that. There's a little bit in there that's kind of like a court, like, that's the introduction. Like, we say, hey, you're part of this particular jury, and it's up to you to decide these things, that kind of thing.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to that. And then I guess I would just ask about the Nazareth thing because I'm still kind of just blown away by that. What would you say, like, what would your conclusion be? Like, if this is the case, what do you think, like, the purpose of them putting Jesus in the first century? Do you think it's just because it's what they were familiar with at the time and it's what they were writing about? Or what
Putting him
would
in
that,
the
like,
first century in general? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, just, well, not like
Um,
in the first century, but putting him living in that town.
Oh, in
In
Nazareth?
the
Oh,
first
it's probably
century.
because
Yeah.
of the fact that you do have a particular sect of Judaism that's called the Nazarenes. And later on, some of the Christian historians try to claim that there was a group called the Nazarenes, but they were before Jesus. And so if you end up with the Nazarenes, who seem to be more of the Gnostic kind of groups or of Judaism, or like more Hellenistic, like, they're open to different ideas, not just like your mainstream Judaism or Jewish practices from the Torah, that kind of thing, or Jewish ideas. If you have some of them leaving post Bar Kokhba revolt, which is when Emperor Hadrian banished the Jews from Judea, and so they went to the surrounding areas. If you have some of the Nazarenes going into these surrounding areas around Judea, and they're bringing with them some of their more Hellenistic ideas, they would be one of the first groups to kind of blend in to, or one of the easier groups to blend in Judaism and the like Greek religions, Greek thought. So with Christianity being already around outside of Judea, and then you end up with Jews coming out and blending in with them over time, the first gospel showing up about 8 years after the Bar Kokhba revolt's over, it would make some sense that if it's coming out that early after the Bar Kokhba revolt, it would probably be due to Jewish people who were a little bit more open to more Greek or Hellenistic ideas. So I would say that he's probably connected to the Nazarenes, which is a Jewish group. The story is connected to that. So it's just kind of blending it in. But in all honesty, if I'm being honest with you, we don't know. We don't know why they put it there. Again, the first gospel doesn't say that his hometown is Nazareth. It just mentions Nazareth. It's later on that they try to make the connection. In Matthew, let me show you here. It says that he is, let's see here. It says he is from Nazareth because of a let me go ahead and pull this up here. Because of a prophecy. It has Jesus down, or Joseph along with Mary and Jesus down in Egypt, and he comes out of it. And he says there he made his home in a town called Nazareth after he goes to Galilee. There he made his home in a town called Nazareth so that what had been spoken through the prophets might be fulfilled. He will be called a Nazarene. But this isn't a prophecy. That's not a thing. The word Nazarene is not in the Old Testament. The word Nazareth is not in the Old Testament. They're seeming to try to make a connection between Nazareth and Nazarene somehow for some weird reason. I mean, they're really trying hard to make that connection. And so it would make some sense that it's probably some kind of like a sect of Judaism that's kind of brought with them some of their Jewish ideas, which is why they're connecting him so hard with this. Matthew is the first gospel where we get like a birth story. And so it's trying to say, hey, he is born there in Judea. He is from Nazareth. He's a Jewish person. He's the Jewish Christ, the Jewish Messiah. We got to connect him somehow. And so they just kind of connect him here, I guess, that's my guess. But again, at the end of the day, we don't know why they were so dead set on making him in Nazareth or making him a Nazarene.
Oh, that's interesting. I definitely want to take a look at that. I want to study that a little bit more. I'm kind of curious because I know you don't believe Paul existed.
Right.
Who would you attribute the writings that we believe as Christians that Paul wrote? Who do you attribute those to, or do you?
Marcionites. The Marcionite students, the students who are followers of Marcion, because we see multiple authors within that particular or these particular texts. Even the authentic versions of Paul's letters, we still see multiple authors within them. And we're not the only ones who say this. We also have, or there's also like Dr. Nina Livesey, her book that came out in late 2024 called The Letters of Paul in Their Roman Literary Context. Without data science or anything like that, she dives into it and says, hey, these things come from the Marcionites. These are people who are writing in the name of Paul using this pseudonym. Yeah, because this is a fairly common trope at the time, was to write letters to like a fake person or as a fake person. We have letters like from Hercules' wife, that kind of thing. We have letters to fake people like from the letters of Seneca there in the 1st century, 127 moral epistles that teach you how to be a good person. But they're always meant to be read as a collection. That's the point.
That's interesting. I guess like when you say there are multiple authors within the letters, how do you go like back and forth between like the different authors? Like what makes you think we're looking at like separate writings rather than one author who worked, with maybe later
it'd be
modified
multiple
it?
authors that are working together generally. But whenever we dive into the text, we see that there's multiple authors there. I mean, hell, whenever Marcion publishes and actually presents these letters of Paul, the first time he does it, there's either 9 or 10 different letters, and even from Christian scholar standards, only 6 or 7 of Paul's letters are even authentic. That means that there's up to 4 that are fake when he publishes them. So we can tell that very clearly there were some other authors involved, just using Christian scholar standards.
It's interesting. I definitely have a lot of research to do. I'm definitely been stuck on the whole Nazareth thing since yesterday, but I'm gonna get my hand on your book and I'm gonna read it, and I'd love to come back and have a chat with you after I get done reading it.
Yeah, not a problem.
So, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks. That was I think it's I Don't Dance. I think maybe at first I thought it was a Daunt or something like that, because I knew who the person was. I knew who the person was eventually. I was like, oh, that's what that was. Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, yes. And there is a Discord as well. So if you wanted to talk to people in real time about this kind of stuff, and I'm just kind of hang out in there as well. The Discord, please, if you can, mods, put the link to the Discord there in the TikTok and the YouTube chat. Definitely check it out. It's Deconstructing Chaos. If you're asking these questions and you're like, hey, I'm wondering about this whole Jesus and Paul thing. I don't know. Maybe even if you're somebody who believes that they did exist, as long as you're coming from a place of good faith, we'd love to have you there in the Discord. We'd love to have you kind of dive on in. And yeah, it's a great place to kind of hang out. There's other content creators as well. It's not just me. It's not my Discord or anything like that. I'm just one of the content creators that are there. I'm not even in the top 5 of the awesome content creators that we have in there. But definitely check them out as well. Show them some love and stop by because they talk about a whole lot of other things. A big shout out today to Amadeus Almighty. Big shout out. I'm going to let that play out because Amadeus Almighty was up here holding down the fort. He was holding down the fort. He did it twice. He was holding down the fort while I was having to talk to someone who was coming by to help with the air conditioning in my house here. But the thing is, that was awesome of him to be able to do that. Make sure to swing by Amadeus Almighty's live or his girlfriend Storm. Either way, definitely check out their live. That is a lot of fun to be had over there. So if you enjoyed Amadeus Almighty, who's going to be here on YouTube as well. So if you missed Amadeus Almighty, he is forever enshrined over on YouTube on this live. So definitely check it out there. But thank you very much to anybody and everybody who stuck around longer than 30 seconds. 35-second gang, rise up. I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. So yeah, make sure to send follows, send subscriptions or subscribe over there on YouTube. And I will be back online tomorrow. Tomorrow it should be about 9:30 or so. It'll probably be about 9:30. Let's see. Rock me 5-second gang. Nice. Okay. All right. So, swing by me, Jared. Oh, nice. Yes. Oh, yes. And also, AZ Mike, yeah, on Saturday nights. Saturday nights, AZ Mike's live is off the chain. So definitely make sure there. Sure, Jorgen. Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. I will see you guys later. I guess if you can, go try to find Nick Graves. Yeah, go to try to find Nick Graves and hop onto his live. I will see you guys. Ooh, we got that Superman curl there. Okay, so I will see you guys later. I'm going to swing by Nick Graves live here in a bit. Jorkum, I hardly know him. That's funny. Anyways, I will see you guys later. Peace out, Girl Scout. Put me down for some Thin Mints. Oh, there we go. And then over on YouTube, I will see you guys later as well. Thank you for the super chats, and thank you to anybody who also became a member. That is awesome. I think Matthew and I might be recording some new material there for the members. So hopefully we can get that over to you. I will see you guys later. You've been you. You've been Tube. I've just been CBJ. See you guys later.